Anything for the board's attention? Seeing none.
Seeing none.
I gather the town clerk is by remote or something?
Yes, Mary Vogel, yeah.
Sure.
So is there something that we can get started on without knowing? I don't really want to start the discussion of a town meeting.
Maybe we do minutes.
The old minutes we need to do.
Okay. let's do
Minutes,
minutes.
appointments and maybe we should do.
That-
Oh, that is there, that doesn't need.
Okay. I have a motion to open the discussion of the minutes.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Yes,
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah,
Carol?
yes,
Barbara, yes, okay. Any comments on the minutes?
I did not.
I have one question, actually, because we had talked about ex officio members. And we have Carol and Lorna and Ken Spino, and were Corey and Jason, are they just regular members or are they there? So they're not there.
They're regular voting members.
Okay, so they're not there by virtue of their positions.
Correct.
You know, we asked them really to be there because of their position, but they are citizens, so that's.
So
Okay.
they'd already volunteered
Okay.
to be on there anyway,
Okay,
so.
that's what I thought. I just wanted to check on that. And then under town manager's report, it talks about the safety training, Super Sunday, March 12th, to include CPR training, but that's just CPR review, right? That's not. It's not the
They
Right, they're doing.
We're doing CPR research.
Recertification.
recertification. Okay,
But you have to have a current active CPR.
Yeah.
You can't have one that's 2 years old. 2 years expired.
I don't know if you can or not, but.
I asked Jeremy, call Jeremy.
Jeremy, okay.
And ask him.
Okay. Anything else on the minutes? I move we select them as corrected.
A second,
All in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Carol?
yes.
Barbara, yes. Okay. So let's go to appointments. Let me keep my phone handy in case Melanie goes some hit this, but what the time is. Okay. So under appointments.
Is Gail here?
She's not, and if you look at Sarah's form, she used the old form. So she's away. I've sent her the correct form.
So
And
she's
told her
probably-
that as soon as she gets that done and submitted, we can get her back on.
Right,
Okay,
but she would have, because it's an appointment to a new committee, she would have to do.
So it's not very late.
And we approved the minutes. And we jumped ahead to appointments. But Sarah's out of the country and she filled out the wrong form. And who else is getting, yeah,
You have the current form from Sarah where she filled out the one with the checkbox.
yeah, Sarah did one without the check mark.
Right, but do we have any from her? She.
But we have one from Gail, but Gail's not here. She's not here.
So Gail is just a reappointment.
Oh, a reappointment.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Oh, you're right. It does say that. Okay. So you want to take over and do the reappointment? Yeah, sure.
Okay. How do I pronounce Gail's last name?
Rebecca.
Marika?
I was like, is it Barica? That's what I had in my head. All right, so I'll make a motion that we reappoint Gail Barica to the Senior Resource Committee.
Second.
Ooh, moved, seconded, and thirded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Barbara,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
all right, 4 yeses. All right, so I guess we'll take a motion now, has the Public Works Ad hoc Committee, have they started meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
When did they start meeting?
We met last Thursday.
Thursday or Wednesday,
I believe it was Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, because if Sarah joins the committee, I don't want her to be too far behind either.
And with her being on other committees, why don't we just appoint her?
That's what I'm thinking, is if she's already filled one out with the checkbox.
She's had to have gone through that requirement anyway.
I'm sure she had.
Just have her make out a new one, and check it out when she comes back, but
I'm okay with that.
Well, fine with that, I move we approve Sarah Leggett
I'll second it. To the Public Works Ad Hoc Committee.
to the public works. Yeah.
All right, all those, is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Barbara?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes,
Dan?
yes,
All right, 4 yeses. And we'll just have Sarah fill that out when she comes in.
Okay, so we approved the minutes and there was no public comment.
Madam Chair, I know that.
I'm actually a public comment.
Oh, you're.
I was here after you
Early.
called for public comment.
Apparently you missed it.
Diane.
Actually, I have something for everyone.
Yeah, you just made my.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
I'm driving the board.
Little Barbara gets you
and
far.
now we're supposed to vote, how much money do you want?
Complimentary from the VHS.
Oh,
I'd like to have permission to sell them at town meeting. I didn't know exactly how that worked, or, you know, is that a problem, or it doesn't actually come out till the 20th, and I managed to get a hold of some advanced ones. So I'd like to be able to sell them at a discount to residents who actually, this is their history.
Right.
So it is not a problem, and I have already spoken to Diane. And because any tables set up have to go through the clerk to make sure that we have enough room, and we have about 5 or 6 right now, so I don't have any problem with that.
Okay, and so to sell something at town meeting is still okay?
Aren't the Girl Scouts selling cookies?
Cookies,
Yeah.
they've always done cookies and everything else.
That's what I was making sure, if it's a not-for-profit and you are.
Right, we're not a nonprofit, so I just wanted to make sure that everything was correct.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
A lot of great
beautiful.
pictures.
All right,
Yeah.
now so I just want to be clear on town meeting too, because I'm also talking to the Girl Scouts. Is the Historical Society doing like a food table this
No,
year?
we are not. I don't
Okay.
have anybody here.
Okay. The Girl Scouts were gonna take on some of that, but they
Yes.
didn't wanna take the whole kit and caboodle if they didn't need to.
Right.
Okay, well, I would bring pizzas for them then, for their bake sale.
How many of these do you have to sell?
I have 600.
Oh, that's somebody you got in advance, oh, okay. Made it sound like you grabbed it, got a handful. I was gonna say you could have these back for now.
So we're we wanted to be the launch, the town.
Yeah.
meeting. And then after that, we'll do our online sales
Okay,
and.
I just want to make sure you have. enough.
So you'd like for us to do this at town meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right, so I make a motion that we give approval to the Belgrade Historical Society to sell their Belgrade Lakes region book at town meeting.
second,
All right, move to the second. You two are entangled in it.
hey.
All right, so I don't know which one you caught first on that one.
I got Barbara.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, Dan,
Yes,
Carol,
Yes,
Barbara,
Yes.
all right, 4-0.
Well, thank you. I will see you there.
Perfect,
Okay.
we'll see you
Good
there.
to see you, Diana.
Ooh, nick of time, girl, nick of time. All right, so we are going to go to the annual town meeting review. We're meeting our new moderator.
I don't want to be so presumptuous to say that I am yet, because
Oh,
I have
that's
to.
true, because we do have to.
Oh,
That's true, we could have a coup, you never know. It wouldn't be the first time in Belgrade. All right, so Paul, I'm Melanie.
Yes, thank you for your
Nice
plans.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I don't know, did you make the
Yes.
rest of the board?
Yeah.
Okay, you already did that while I was carousing. Which was carousing. All right, so this is the part where we usually just go right down through. kind of review the warrant articles, and then if there are questions, who from the board or one of the committees is gonna take that on as being the person to speak on that article.
Sure.
Okay,
This is all we gave me to cut the warrant. A draft of it.
yep, perfect, that's what I'm gonna look.
I think the town report probably is out soon.
It's just mine was landed today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you give him one that we.
That'd be great. Yeah. And like, or I read it last night, there's a couple of warrant articles, kind of interesting in that they're compound questions, so that you could break it up into two different motions if somebody wanted to. It's easily manageable, but I could see some feature of that happening. That's not unusual.
Did you have one in particular that? we should
Yeah,
look at?
here's one that, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just so you have to be prepared for it, like Article 24, to see if the town will approve the creation of public works capital reserve account for the purpose of preparing the possibility of outside contract resource available. And then it says, and to appropriate 500,000 undesignated funds, so in a way, you almost have two propositions. The threshold question, do you want to do this? And the second one is, if you do want to do it, how much do you want to put into it? Which that may be one of the ways I think it might be to put it. I would suspect that some people say, well, I want to create it, but I don't want to put 400,000 rather than 500,000. I got just my question, thinking aloud, that's just the way it struck me. Nothing wrong with it, just as long as it comes out.
Well, and that may come up just like that at town meeting.
Yeah.
So this is probably gonna be one of the ones that brings people out.
Good.
Be a lot of discussion.
And the reason why it's worded the way it is was because to eliminate the section in the middle, folks instantly went to, they're creating a new department and they don't have our permission.
Right.
So it was, if we have to create a department, we have to have a pot of money to start from.
Right.
So if we have to go this route, we're not starting literally from scratch. This is the reason for this, if we have to do this.
Okay,
So that's why.
so,
Somebody could say, I don't agree with 500,000, I propose 400, and then we all vote.
well, okay, because my initial instinct, and I may be wrong, I'm not saying this is right, but is to, there's two questions here in this article. The threshold question, can we have a motion at the first instance as to whether to create the account or not? So somebody says, I will create the account. And that gets voted on first, because if somebody says, we don't want an account at all, then the second one is kind of no go, right?
Yeah.
And then if people vote to create this vessel, if you will, of create an account, then the second part of the article is, like 24B, if you will. How much do you want to put into it, folks? And I think that might be more palatable. Again, Mr. Newman's been in a professional legislative body, but this type of thing probably happens all the time. But where you'd say, we want to do this in concept, and then secondly, here's how we flesh it out. That would be my initial impulse, is to sort of how I might sort of invite a motion on the first part of the article, and then vote that up or down, and then the second part of the article, how much money you want to put in it.
No.
Okay, go ahead. No, seriously. Yeah, I'm open to any consensus if you want.
Well, so that, I think, actually has to come through just exactly as it's
All
written.
right.
So it can't be a two-part question if we create the account. So what can happen is that that's where the discussion comes in. So you read the warrant article and then he raises his hand and says, I don't agree with 500,000. I think we should take 400,000 out of undesignated fund. Then that amendment to that article.
Oh, yeah, that's one way
But I
to do
think
it.
it all has to kind of go as one.
Sure, somebody could say, I'm voting against this because I don't want 500,000, I want the concept. And if they think they can get it through their esophagus and digest it as all one bite, that's fine with me. We'll do it that way. The prerogative of writing the warrant is yours, and that's what you've done, and so I'll do it. I was just thinking, if you want to do it differently, that's great, but if you want to do it that way, I'm not gonna get in the way.
Well, I think if we open that up to doing it two-part, if there's any other ones like that, then that could open us up to that same scenario.
Well, yeah, there are others that are similar to that, but this one struck me as sort of jumped off the page with more, and it's not uncommon. The most common one you see all over the state would be, taxes are due September 2nd, you're gonna charge interest at 8% after that date and stuff like that. And clearly somebody can start performing an autopsy on that if they want. Well, no, I think it should be November 2nd. Then somebody else says, no, I think it should be 7%, not 6%. And you have, that happens all, that I'm accustomed to all the time. And that, I guess that is an example of the way it happens. And some people will, and of course you can amend one part of it and then vote it up or down and amend another part of it, vote that up and down. Maybe that's the way it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you see any other ones that look like that?
That's the one that reared its head most conspicuously. Yes, there are others like that. Yes.
So
But
as we
this-
tick down through, will you bring those?
Yeah, sure. Keep going. That's great.
You're like, and then here's another one, Melanie. All right, so Articles 1 and 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 will all be done on secret ballot the day before, so we won't need to tick through those. So you'll just need to do what the results were of that at the beginning.
Sure.
Well, assuming you're.
7:45 a.m., St. Patrick's Day. I'll be wearing green and I hope all the Irish people vote for me, whatever. And at some point, Mrs. Vogel, typically when I've been involved in this type of thing, I would appoint some deputy to preside over the secret ballot part of it in my absence. Is that way you would work here? How do you want to do it?
That is correct, Mr. Mills. You'll be appointing Christian Bishop, and he has been a deputy moderator, deputy warden, but he's never done the moderator piece of it. So he's going to be coming also on the day of town meeting on Saturday and observing how the proceedings move forward.
Right.
So he will be there for the day on Friday.
Good.
All right. So Article number 8. Is to see if the town will authorize the board of select persons to act on the following: to spend an amount not to exceed 1/4 of the approved budget for 2023 between January 1, 2024 and the date of the regular 2024 town meeting. Vote to accept all drafts and overdrafts and balances that have lapsed and not otherwise directed to the undesignated fund. Select board recommendations are there for no absent. I would say, I don't think we'll have any questions on that one, but if you do, I'll take them.
So I've got your initials on this one. Whatever.
Okay, and then Article 9 is allowing the tax collector to accept prepayment of property taxes. Once again, I don't think there'll be any questions on that. But if so, you can put me on all the ones there won't be any questions. So Melanie, now for that one too.
Right. Well, as you know, people from the floor will ask questions, and then I can say, anyone on the board wish to answer this, and Melanie, you wish to respond, whatever, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Don't leave it, gets people off guard on what's going on.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the one where they're like, I didn't want to talk on that.
Remember too, before we get started, we also have to take a vote on allowing non-residents to speak, the people
Yes.
that run some of our departments and.
So what we'll do, Paul, is we will get you a list of folks that don't live in the town, but will request their permission for.
Nicholas,
them to
Jared,
speak.
Ken, Hans, and Lorna.
Yeah.
Town clerk gave me one, and they'll be complete, but
Yeah, that is
That's-
everybody, right?
I sent it to Paul earlier.
What about Dick Greenan?
Do we,
He's on the Dams
will need him to speak?
If anybody has questions on any, for the dams committee article, normally we'd have Dick speak to that, wouldn't we?
Okay, all right. Make
Well,
sure to I'll make sure to contact Dick because he is not a resident.
Right,
can I ask a question, which is, I suspect the motion would be, to be very early in the meeting, I move that these town officials, name them, be authorized to speak, given the fact they're non-residents, and then that's the way you put it, I suspect, is that right?
Yeah, basically.
Right,
So Dick Greenan would not be a town official,
well,
so it would be
okay,
these non-residents to speak.
non-residents, town officials and members of committees for the town.
Step on.
right, okay. I think that's the way it seems to go best. I mentioned an email to Mary, one day, someplace said, I moved right at the beginning, I moved that anybody who's not a non-resident be allowed to speak, and so, well, wait a minute, how do we know that somebody from the American Nazi Party, you know, who's gonna be showing up, right?
Right.
So the fact that you can find it at the outset, and then as things go along, as you know, if there's an outside organization way down the warrant that isn't even mentioned, the person can always get up and say, I'd like to be recognized to speak, my name is Joe Smith, and they can always vote it at that time too.
Yep. And you can start the meeting with that. If there's anyone who's not identified on this list, who's not a resident of Belgrade, who wishes to speak at town meeting, stand up and be recognized, and we'll see, well, if it's the town's pleasure to allow you to speak.
Sure.
So then you already put that bug in there in case anybody's lurking, seeing how we do cool things in Belgrade, you know.
Sure.
All right, Article 10. See if the town will set Friday, September 1, 2023 is the date property taxes are due. Once again, you can put my name by that. If anybody wants to switch it to November, they can't. All right, Article 11. To see if the town will appropriate estimated revenues in the amount of $1,654,996,000 from the following sources to reduce the property tax commitment. You can stick me in on that one too, Paul. I don't think these first ones are gonna have much on. Article 12 is to appropriate $7,500 from building permits, $8,700 from plumbing fees, and raise and appropriate $784,520 for a total of $800,720 for municipal operations and administrative activities. That one, Paul, could be more than one person who needs to speak on that. If someone has particular questions about the town manager or code enforcement or the town historian, that we pay them way too much money or something like that. What are you guys' thoughts? Just if there's different departments, they can speak to them individually.
How do we pronounce the last name of the code enforcement officer?
Rasmussen.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right, this was in effect. Okay.
So would. There's a question about the budget for code enforcement, that wouldn't be Hans who would answer that question, right? Would be. Us or.
Depends on what they have for
Yeah,
questions
so
about
what-
code enforcement.
It all depends on what the question is. Most generally, it'll be the town manager or could even be Nick.
Yeah, I mean, they may say, is that a full-time position or is that part-time? So we should be prepared for how many hours.
But
Yeah.
we could speak to that.
Yeah,
So that was a crapshoot. We're just gonna roll the dice and see where it lands.
Sure.
Okay?
Right, okay, right.
Okay, Article 13. And this is, see if the town will appropriate $45,271 in non-tax revenue and raise and appropriate from taxation $434,284 for public safety. For a total of $479,555. With any unexpected balance from the fire and rescue department budget lapsing into its equipment capital reserve. That would be Dan McKenzie or. Dan
Correct.
should be there this time, because they're not, sometimes he's out of town at this time, but I believe, is he on tonight?
I believe he's gonna be there.
I think, so we'll put Dan,
Travis will be there.
we'll put Dan McKenzie or Travis Barton in on that one, Paul.
And the titles of their positions, you think?
So Dan is fire chief and Travis is fire and rescue.
He's rescue chief.
He's rescue chief.
Travis's last name, right?
Barton, Burton.
Paramedic or kind of EMT type.
Yes.
Okay. Is your EMT or paramedic, is that part of the fire department itself, or do you merge with a water issue or something?
Fire and rescue.
Yeah, we're one department.
Okay,
Technically, Dan McKenzie is the fire and rescue chief. Travis would then technically be the assistant. Chief in charge of rescue, just like we have assistant chief, but we just call it rescue chief and fire chief. because
Okay.
Dan doesn't know anything about the rest.
Right, he's not a paramedic.
He's not into the medical, so, yeah, so we're one department.
Now, the only thing I see there where anybody may have a question would be if somebody has a question about animal control officer. We do have an animal control officer whose name is Jeff Worthing. But that would be dependent on what the question was. So probably if somebody has an animal control question, we kind of feel
Mhm.
that. Sorry.
And I suppose if somebody asks a question, it can also, depending on the context, you might be saying something and then it could also, you can obviously invite someone else to participate. Say, well, I got to answer part of that, but Jeff Worthing might have the other rest of it, and he can speak if he wants to.
Yep, absolutely. All right, then we have Article 14. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from taxation 592, 519 for public works as follows. General maintenance, winter maintenance contract. Sand and salt. So on that, that would be Jason Stevens. And that's our road commissioner.
He's appointed, I take it.
Yes,
Yes.
he's appointed by the board.
Melanie, back on the other one, the only one I see someone might have a question on is the town of Rome contribution. That's a little, I don't know if you're familiar with how that works, but that's a little different here. We provide rescue service for the town of Rome, so they make a contribution. And what's here is their contribution from last year, which is in this budget, and the increase for this year will be in next year's budget. So you may have someone saying, are they still paying, or you know, just, it's a little different situation. I don't know if you're familiar with that in other places.
Yeah, we don't have any guarantee that Rome's gonna, at their time meeting, agree to
We
pay the bill.
fully anticipate they will, but
So we run a year out, so
a year behind.
we're paying this year's budget with last year's fee.
I think it's the connection.
So you guys are going 100 miles an hour.
Usually are.
Yeah, I mean, that would be either Dan or Travis or
Yeah.
Nick if they have.
I just wanted Paul to know that that's sort of a little
Sure.
different
Yeah, tell me.
setup that we have, and someone may not.
Is it
realize.
the oh, they're actually.
I'm pretty sure it's usually the Saturday before ours.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it is. It's, they vote on Friday, their town meeting is on Saturday. So we'll know by
I know
then.
half the time they have it at the school here. I don't know if they put it in next year, but I think it was last year they had it.
Yeah.
Belgrade Central.
Yeah. Okay, Article 15, cemeteries. See if the town will appropriate 9,568 income from the cemetery portfolio and raise and appropriate from taxation 62,597 for a total of 72,165 for the cost of operation and maintenance of the cemeteries as follows. What do we think? Phil Sprague
Corey,
or Corey? Yep.
Corey and Bill Sprague and possibly Mike, but Mike was Sexton for most of this year.
Yeah, somebody may ask, what's the big jump? Why are you going up by 50 grand?
So it'd be Phil and Corey, and I can park in if need be.
You ready for that,
So those
Corey?
Names on that are Corey Alexander and Phil Sprague.
Alexander?
Yep.
He's our facilities maintenance director, who's sitting right behind you. So.
Watch what you say.
Okay, Article 16. To see if the town will appropriate 1550 from the library mowing contract and raise and appropriate from taxation 414,690 for a total of 416,240 for the maintenance of facilities and grounds as follows. So that would be Corey Alexander. Would be on the hot seat for that one. Article 17, to see if the town will appropriate $30,000 from anticipated revenue from solid waste operations. 10,000 from undesignated funds and raise and appropriate from taxation, 325,800 for a total of 365,800. And that would be Ken Skana,
And,
SC,
oh yeah, I think he's in the first part, transfer station manager,
yes,
and it's pronounced Kano.
Skana.
All right.
And he's one of those out of towners.
I'll be, and me on that one, so I'm first vote.
Okay, Article 18, to see if the town will appropriate 8,524 from the library capital reserve and raise and appropriate from taxation, 101,501 for library services. And that would be Jared
Jared Bond.
Bond, yes, that is our librarian. Okay, Article 19 is to see if the town will authorize the board of select persons to enter into a one-year contract with the Friends of the Belgrade Public Library for up to $3,000 for plowing and mowing services. So that would be,
That'd be Corey.
And
Did you say Corey?
yeah, Corey Alexander.
Would there be anybody from the library trustees?
That's what I was just wondering with
But it's not the library trustees, it's the friends, so it would be
Friends,
Judy
that would be
Johnson
Judy.
or who are the two co-chairs?
Diane Down, isn't she? Diane?
No, she's not. Maureen Milliken is the chair of the library. Diane, they're involved with the library, not with the friends. The
The
building
Friends.
is the friends.
Yeah,
So it would
So
be
with
Judy
and,
Johnson.
Linda
Linda?
Sprague. Linda
Oh,
Sprague,
Linda Sprague, yeah.
the co-chair.
So if we need
So you
anyone
wanna
else on
go-
that, either Judy.
Well, the friends of the library own the building. And the town pays the staff and maintains the collection and programs.
Ah,
Sounded like you had something to follow up with. I was waiting. I was like, he's got nothing. Okay, Article 20, to see if the town will appropriate 69,000 from anticipated recreation revenue and raise and appropriate from taxation, 157,045 for recreation services. That would be Dan McLashing.
that's pronounced McClashin, huh?
Yeah, McLashing. And that's the recreation director. Okay, Article 21, to see if the town will vote to appropriate 12,500 from undesignated funds, 12,500 from the emergency fuel fund, and to raise and appropriate from taxation, $4,780 for a total of $29,780 for social services as follows: general assistance, emergency fuel, senior resources, community event traffic control, and Christmas trees. Let's say. Only anything. I don't know there'll be many questions on it, but
Could be us, Lauren or Nick.
yeah. So more Nick on that one?
Okay, all right. Nicholas Poole,
Yes. Okay, Article 22, to see if the town will raise and appropriate 1,500 to support the Belgrade Senior Volunteer Work Program. And we want Mary.
Mary.
All right, Mary Vogel on that one.
all right,
Yes, Mary, we just nominated you for that.
I heard,
Okay, Article 23, to see if the town will raise and appropriate from taxation 23,418 for Belgrade's share of 2023 operations and maintenance cost of the village dam, Wings Mill and Salmon Lakes Dam. So that would be Dick Greenan.
Dick Richardson,
Greenan,
oh yeah, we've heard from him before, right?
yes.
He's one of those non-residents.
And now drum roll for number 24.
Right. So Article number 24 for the Public Works Capital Reserve account. I'm happy to field questions on that if nobody else wants to
Yeah.
jump in. I think we all can all jump in if need be.
Bill's on the committee.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I am on the committee.
Me or Carol?
Yeah.
I got,
Actually,
wasn't Tony have a vacancy on the board or?
Yes. Yeah, one of our members passed away,
Oh,
so the seat will be filled on Friday the 17th.
Next Friday.
So. Article 25, to see if the town will appropriate 490,000 from the undesignated fund and the following amounts for the following purposes: fire and rescue capital reserve, fire and rescue building capital reserve, maintenance garage capital reserve, facilities capital reserve, and well contamination remediation fund.
So any of these could be reduced.
Yes.
most of these seem to be capped articles then?
Yeah, everything's capped. We
Everything's capped.
can't go up. We can go down. Anything with numbers, it can go down on.
Got it.
Right. So. The fire and rescue capital reserves, that would be Dan or Travis. Question is on the maintenance garage capital reserve, that would be Corey. The question is on facilities capital reserve. That would be Corey. Well, remediation, Corey. Just kidding.
You're gonna run the water district.
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay, so the well contamination remediation fund, if folks have questions on that. Anyone who wants to grab it, if somebody has a question. Fund is already established, we're just
Yeah, I mean.
putting money into it.
Anyone on the board can answer. Chances are, if anything, probably Nick's gonna be answering most of those. If you wanna know what's in, you know, what's still in it or.
Nick would be
Anything to do with
Nick would be answering this, yeah.
I think this is the first time I've seen on an article where it said we had an unaudited balance this week.
Oh. I think because when we finished the article, the audit hadn't been done yet, possibly.
Yeah, we should have gone back in though and updated those after the audit was done. So for future reference,
Well, we can have those figures with us.
yes,
We'll make sure, let's make sure that Nick has the audited figures
Right,
for those balances at the meeting.
Is it possible I could get that email to me so I can copy it off and put it in the book? Please.
might as well send it to all of us. Okay, Article 26. See if the town debt service will raise and appropriate $297.60 for the first payment on the remaining 2 years of the bill bond. $29,894 for the 8th payment of the town office, 13-year bond of $15,000 for the tax anticipation note interest for a total of $361,954. That would be Nick.
The treasurer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, trust activities.
yeah,
That is usually Nick or Pam Prescott used to talk on that. Laura Dunbar is the new head of the Don C. Stevens Fund, and she authorizes some of this, so one of those two folks will probably speak on that. if there's questions.
This is 27, I think,
Yep, 27.
and those people again, you see,
What's that?
who are they gonna be, might be speaking?
So if there are any questions, Nick, the treasurer,
Oh, yeah,
or Laura Dunbar, is she heads up the programming at the elementary school from the trust interest that they get. So she may, somebody has a question, she could probably help to answer it. Okay, Article 28, see if the town authorizes the select board to use money from the undesignated fund to maintain operations at 2022 levels. That would be Nick. I don't think I've ever had anybody question that one. Okay, shall the town, Article 29, shall the town vote to increase the property tax levy limit of 1,605,416 established for the town of Belgrade by state law in the event that the municipal budget approved in the preceding articles will result in a tax commitment that exceeds that property tax limit? So are you comfortable, Paul, explaining what that article means, what LD1 is?
well, I would certainly, at the outset, it would indicate that it's the only article by state law that requires a written ballot. And that I would imagine the treasurer, too, Mr. Poole, would suspect to have some input on, I mean, it's called the LD1 override, so that based upon previous appropriations and what the town has been doing, what the articles are doing, whether, and it speaks to the future as well. I'm not necessarily an expert on it, but I realize one reason why some towns, the explanation that some people see is whether in fact, by the time you get to this article, the override is necessary or not, based on the previous articles. I suppose that's the only question people might have. Then, of course, the next point would be, well, we don't need it for this meeting. We won't know what might happen over the rest of the fiscal year that would require appropriation that would go over it. So it's considered to be kind of a safety net for the ability of the town to appropriate more than what the threshold figure is supposed to be.
So there'll be probably two parts to that. Do we have a copy of the newsletter here?
I know we've never voted on that, if this budget didn't exceed it,
Right, because we don't have to vote on that, so,
even if
so,
something happens on it, we've never voted on that. If this budget at the end of town meeting doesn't exceed that limit.
And if these recommendations go through, do you think it would exceed the limit?
yes.
Okay, so you're probably gonna want it.
Unless we get some cuts, and we'll cut it, if we get the cuts, Nick will calculate it and decide if we're gonna go over it.
So we have to cut basically 67,000.
So 67 is right now.
7,000, I did talk to Rob Duplessis today, because he helped with some of the worksheet. He said, Melanie, I will not be responsible for that number. He said, my job is not to calculate LD1 for towns. I said, I have the spreadsheet up and I do help with that. He said, but if there is, he said, he doesn't want to be on the hook at that number that is not spot on. He said, I just use the numbers that were provided to me and plug them into the formula. So
So in other words, this year we may be close enough, we do want to vote on that.
well, if we're over even by a penny, we do have to vote to, but the two ways that's worded is vote to exceed or vote to increase. And you can only vote to exceed if there's a catastrophic necessity that made us go further than the LD1 limit. And that would be like natural disaster, fire, the state cuts off all funding, things like that. Then the flip side of that is that you vote, and if you vote to exceed, it's a one-time event, it does not affect you for the next year. If you vote to increase, it actually, that becomes your base number for the following year. So our base number to plug into this formula for the following year, if they voted to increase, would start with that $67,000 above. So that's where that gets a little bit tricky. It's not a one-time thing. And And so that's where, so what the moderator used to do is at the beginning of town meeting, caution people. I'm gonna see if there's a copy of the newsletter out there. If there is, I actually went through MMA and did an article for the newsletter
Oh,
on that might help.
right.
So Jay would give a little bit of an overview of what LD1 is and caution people not to leave before the end of town
Right.
meeting if they want to also have a final say.
Well, right, and because you could be caught in the dilemma of if they vote this article down, you either have to have a special town meeting, or you would retreat and people would have to vote to reconsider some of the other articles previous to the warrant. So one would not want to go home early on this one, would they? Unless they vote to take it up out of order, whatever.
Well, that's the part that you would want to explain is that if everything passes and it exceeds the limit by any set dollar amount, and we go to the written ballot and it's defeated,
Right,
then we all have to reconvene, and now we start going through the warrant article by article to see what can be reduced.
right,
Because then we have to reduce it to at least that limit or below.
sure,
So that's where you want to caution people not to beat feet, not to grab
Sure.
their snacks and run. And their history book, because you may still have work to do at the end of town meeting.
sure.
And you said that has to be a written ballot?
That is
State
the
law
written
requires
ballot.
that, yeah.
So what'll happen is we'll present that number that day. That's going to be, it'll be printed on a block of paper, so folks will get their voting block and then their secondary block with a yes and a no check box. And that is strictly to be used for that. Then we feed up, they collect the votes. You would announce the decision. If the decision is yes, they vote to increase, then we're done, our job here is done.
Sure.
If they say no, then we go back and we start picking up.
I take it, but Mrs. Vogel's on the line, that there are written ballot, they're either pre-printed yes, no ballots you would have. And you have ballot clerks, checklists, the whole paraphernalia that goes all with that. And for we get some type of public address system, PA system, both for you people as well as like some people in the audience, we want some typically like 2 or 3 different microphones. One in the middle of the building in a room and
Yeah,
people to do
you
that.
have one at the podium,
Sure.
and then the select board usually has
2 or 3 to be spread out.
2 or 3 spread out with the budget committee.
Mhm.
And then there's usually 1 or 2 that are mobile, that we have folks bring them to folks in the audience who can stand up and do that.
Sometimes it's Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, they run around and go.
I
Right.
think there are, sometimes it's Nick Poole.
And if there are remote mics, sometimes if the meeting is protracted, it's important to make sure somebody knows where the extra batteries are. Because the remote mics, I've been to some meetings where 2 or 3 hours in, well, it doesn't work anymore, you gotta put a new battery in, where are they? So I don't know who's the tech person on public address, but I just mentioned that in case it requires that type of backup.
Good point.
Corey, who sets all that up?
Jason Carey.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jason will have it all set up and we'll double check all the batteries and we will have written ballots for the LD1, yes or no. So those are all set to go.
Yeah, we
It's
have,
real, it's,
we have ballot clerks as people come in, they're checked off. Or you only get your voting card anyway when you first.
oh, good, get cards,
Yeah, well, a little piece of paper. So that-
right, that's good, a lot of people don't have that, that's just.
Hot pink or something, so you can't guess the color before you come in. You're
Right.
like, I think it's yellow this year. Here's my color.
Sure, and it's voting cards and
And
and of course,
obviously
it's
enough.
conceivable that
to
there
vote.
could be a written ballot on other articles, depending on how it goes, but you've got enough paper and enough things to hand out, so I take it that won't be a problem.
That would be the only written ballot one. The only way we would need a second written ballot on that is if we were to come back a second time and vote on this LD1. So if it's defeated the first time and we go back and we still don't trim the budget
Well,
enough to come in underneath it.
I think, and Mary can answer this, but I think if somebody can request, make a motion and it go to secret ballot, any article go to secret ballot and right there. And it can go to secret ballot, 'cause I believe that happened at one town meeting, not too many moons ago.
Yes, yes, You're right, Bruce, and I will be prepared for that, so I'll have some extra paper.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally, I don't know what happened, but when you can cut the tension with a knife.
Yeah.
And it's a closely divided group. And there is significant polarity. We don't know anything about that in our culture anymore, but nevertheless, it's- there is significant polarity. And people feel on the spot. Occasionally, the written ballot is a therapeutic device that people will
Right.
have to go with, and they'll feel more comfortable about doing that. And if we've got, all it takes is lots of extra paper, really, pretty much.
Well, and I was thinking of this, the one that you're talking about, we split the room.
Yes,
And we were counting heads on sides of the room and there were people still moving. So we went to written ballot because that was the other thing is that who wanted to put their hand up where it was so
Right.
hotly contested.
yeah.
Right.
Right, the husband wants to vote one way, the wife the other way, but they don't want the other one to know about it. We all see that too, so.
Yeah.
if-
We did go to written ballot on that one. I think it was by one vote.
It was by one
Was
vote.
one
Yeah.
vote, yeah.
And even if people are uninhibited about it, and most people really are uninhibited, they don't care that much. But occasionally the written ballot will give you a more precise result. In that, boy, I can't tell that person's got their hand up, or they don't know, but there's something relatively unambiguous about writing it down. Kidding, and then so you have an accurate count if it is close. And I'm not saying that's a routine thing at the meeting, but it's nice to be able to be prepared for it just in case.
Yeah, because on that particular, they took a vote. And then the clerks counted everybody, and I think it was after that meeting, we went to the cards.
Yeah,
Because it was easier to see the cards, but they take it, okay, and they get a number, and then. It's, okay, let's do it again, and do count again, and they get a different number, and somebody would change it, yeah, from yes to no, and. Just kept going back and forth. That was long.
Well, how long do your meetings usually go anyway?
About 3 hours,
Yeah,
2 to 3.
sure.
That's how many people, right?
All right, so where do we want to call in admission?
Well, there was something about the Spirit of America Awards that Mrs. Vogel was talking about, or it comes somewhere in the meeting.
Yes. Usually at,
Right before the second one,
yep,
isn't that when we do?
that's what I was saying, so where do
Right
we want
before, right after the intermission, before we start the second half of the meeting.
maybe you take an intermission before you get to the public works issue. I mean, make sure, I mean, that's pretty late in the meeting.
23.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the rest of them are fairly straightforward. But you definitely want to make sure you have done that before you get to the public works one. I would
Yeah,
think,
because
because that's where most of your discussion, I think, is gonna come.
That's Article 24.
Do we
Right.
want to get through to Article 17 and then pick up from the library after intermission?
Goes half, it's. We have total articles, is it?
22. It's more than half.
And that gets through some of the public works, facilities and grounds, cemetery, public safety. So some of the big ticket items.
I mean, you probably want to do it. Oh, no, I'm sorry, never mind.
Where are you leaning?
I was saying, the one with the sexton, we want to make sure. That's earlier. Where's that one? I could see that becoming a point of discussion.
Is that under
The Article 15. Maybe you take a break after Article 15. I know. If people know the budget's tight and they want to know why you went up $50,000, I think that might create
Well, I mean,
discussion.
the other thing is we all gotta think about, is inflation, fuel prices are up, so.
Right.
Everything's inevitable to go up or.
But we
labor,
tried to budget, taking that into consideration.
You can't keep a. Flat, or, we've already been flat for 3 years and killing us in some areas.
So,
And just remember that we're starting the discussion with Article 8.
Right,
Not
that's
starting
true,
with number
that's
one.
right.
that's right, too.
So,
Yeah.
So you're not very far along.
yeah, let's not have a break after a half an hour.
So then why don't we go to Article 21?
I mean, complete 21 or
Yep, complete 21.
complete
and then
21, so
Article
between
22.
21 and 22, we do an intermission. And then other intermissions as they are needed.
Well, okay, so you're saying after 21, somebody will be recognized on the board to move to recess, to have an intermission for, and again, you probably say how long it would be for, so we'll know when to come back.
What do we normally do, 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
20 minutes or so, because then that gives folks a chance to grab a bite to eat, go to the restroom.
Check out the tables,
Yeah,
buy some Girl Scout cookies.
I don't have any cookies there because they've now changed the Northeast delivery schedule. They can't take orders and they can't deliver cookies because their cookies don't come in until that weekend.
Too bad.
It was like-
Lunch, something,
Yeah, it was like they tied the hands of all the Girl Scouts in the Northeast.
So they're just gonna do snacks.
They're gonna do snacks and they're gonna see, they're trying to come up with a way that they might still be able to take some orders somehow, but they're
I
gonna,
mean, because I think the orders are already, because I did my orders weeks ago.
oh, yeah.
Me too.
If we go through Article 20, then we're at the bottom of the page in the book. This is kind of a,
400.
Well, that one carries over to the next page.
huh?
20 goes on to the top of the next page.
No, not in the book.
Oh, just on our stuff, okay,
Aren't people gonna have the book?
Yeah,
That's what everybody works from.
yeah.
So Article 20 ends page 75 in the book, and then Article 21 starts at the top of the next page, so that just seems like.
That would be a logical
And
one.
so- a more
Let's back
logical
it up
spot.
then and let's do Article 20.
Intermission, snacks,
So in
buy
the
books.
Spirit of America, is there some ceremonial observance that occurs during the intermission?
So what we do is after intermission, then the start of the second half is when the chair of the board of select persons will do the Spirit of America awards. We'll call them up one by one, present their certificate. And then we move on to the rest of the day.
And not only that, we need to, I assume Scott's gonna be there, and Jeremy, and Conrad, and Judy and her sister and everything else, because I've got that state memoriam.
Yes,
To
the
give out
legislative
silver.
sentiment.
Oh,
So that will also be there for Ricky Cameron, who was our board member.
Oh, sure.
And he was also.
Yeah, I've had the state memoriam since last fall. We just had to try and find the right time to do it, so.
So what would happen is you would ask to be after Article 20, say, Mr. Moderator, like to be recognized, and you say, make a motion, your motion is that we recess for 20 minutes or whatever you want to do. And come back at 2 o'clock or something, and then those in favor, I mean, conceivably, they could say, no, we don't want to do it, but they probably would, and then those opposed, and then you have a recess.
Right,
Right,
and then when we come back, we would start with the presentations and then go right back to the warrant.
sure.
All right, does anybody else have anything?
So I have had 2 people ask me, I mean, I know the answer, I think I know the answer. That are wanting to possibly discuss the water quality money on the floor, which it's already voted on Friday. I understand that, I'm just saying, Paul should be prepared that someone may raise that as a question. So, Article 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. Article 4 is a water quality article that's going to be voted on in secret ballot. But there are some people who thought, oh, we could discuss it on the floor if we wanted to, and they can't because it was on the secret ballot. But you may have someone ask you, so that's why I want to
Sure.
let you know that there are a couple of people that might do that.
they could have discussion on that if they choose to in Article 25. Because you got, asking for $200,000 going to well contamination remediation fund, which is basically that same circuit breaker.
No, I'm talking
that's
about
the wells.
the money for the lake, it's
Oh,
not the well,
the
the money for the lake.
apologize.
I was trying to figure out how you would go with that. I was
I'm
like,
like, ooh,
I was
pretty clever.
like, well, shoreline zoning violations is what puts money into the water
So-
quality improvement. fund.
On that, I just, on that one article, I just got a quick question, because I was going through some of the stuff on the Selectboard packet, and one of the forever articles was stating that the boat excise, half of the boat excise tax is supposed to be going into water quality fund, and that has been happening right along.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's just good, it's depleted so bad that there really wasn't a whole lot available this time.
We haven't had enough violations that,
well, yeah.
We
the
had
excise
some
tax-
personal-
We got it Hans up there, raise that money.
but no, so that one, yeah, that can certainly bring up.
Just so you're aware of that.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think I do. So I come back, 7:45 on the 17th. Then after about 15 minutes, I'm gone, and then we come back, was it 1 o'clock the next afternoon,
Yeah,
down the road at the big.
Center
yeah,
Park season.
Center Pearl season,
That's where all.
27.
Sure.
I've
Oh, I
read-
go there first, go there both days, right.
Yeah,
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
most of them.
And I'd probably be there before one.
Yes, that's right. She suggested I do that, right. Well, looking forward to it, and I did inhabit Belgrade for a number of summers because I spent the better part of 3 summers at Camp Bomassine and of
oh,
course.
First point.
Point. It was-
Yes.
It was a great place to spend some summers, you know.
Been there, done that.
yeah,
Nobody's doing it there right now.
No, actually, they reopened again.
Cub Scouts year.
still doing
Yeah.
some.
Cool.
They reopened this, actually, they had one camp up there. This one.
Cub Scouts been using it the last couple of years.
Well, give me a call, if you have any questions or thoughts or suggestions, or it's always nice to be cognizant ahead of time of where any of the speed bumps are going to be,
Yeah,
and sometimes, of course, we don't know.
right.
Paul, what's your phone number?
778-3521.
Okay, perfect.
Right. And I've got an email, Mrs. Vogel has been in touch with me by email a couple of times, just in case, so. And Laura doesn't know how to get a hold of me at all, but nevertheless.
Thank you.
Great, good, okay.
No, I just stand out beside your house and take pictures of your house. He has a red barn.
Oh, no, you must have one in front of your house once a week anyway.
Yeah,
One thing I wanted to make sure that we do is to send out a press release about the voting in the town meeting, just to make sure that it's in the papers. So everybody's aware of it.
Yeah.
and we'll have it on our sign, right? Our talking sign.
Can we see the sign? We can't see it from one side.
You can't see the sign coming from the south.
Oh,
Snowbanks, it's the
oh.
snowbank.
Oh,
You can
no,
see that the red, you can
You
see
can
that
see
the
the
red
glow,
lights,
yeah.
but you can't see what the message is.
And by the time you get to the other side, you don't really want to be.
Right, you can't turn around if you're.
Corey, get out there with your shovel and, make that snowbank go down.
Jason's gonna,
Huh?
Jason's gonna be around. Maybe just. be a-
Push some things back.
So Melanie, I have a question.
Yes,
Yeah, did Barbara say she wants to advertise in the newspaper?
No, I said it would be good to send out a press release.
Okay,
To
okay,
encourage, just as the fact that town meeting is taking place as a reminder for people to come and to vote.
okay. I wasn't sure I heard you correctly. Okay,
Oh, no advertising.
Don't pay those rates.
But there have been reports the last couple of weeks of town meetings that have already taken place, and so that made me think, oh, it would be good to, just jog people's memory that, another way of reminding people that town meeting is coming up.
We can put something out on our Facebook page as well.
Right.
As a-
Well, and you can have neighbors helping neighbors to,
I'll post
to put
something festive and.
post
then
something
it can
there
get
as well.
shared. Yeah.
yeah, don't forget to vote.
I can do that. I'm gonna put myself a little note.
You have a beautiful facility here, it's magnificent, it's The place must be much easier to deal with than the one you had 5 or 6 years ago.
You remember that one?
That's pretty bad.
You're like, don't drink the water. Go use the bathrooms.
I
Oh,
have
the
my
bats.
bats.
Yes, the bats. Oh, all the things we've looked at. Okay, perfect. So let's move on then to the LD1 tax levy limit.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Have a good night. See you next week.
Sure will. Have a good night.
Okay,
Thank you. Good night. All right, so the LD1 tax levy limit worksheet looks like we will exceed LD1 by $66,822.
So what's your sense? Do you think there's gonna be resistance to that?
Yes. I think that getting it from 339 to 66,8 is pretty good. But if I were sitting on the other side of the table, I would say, when I look at this overall budget in the millions, we've got to be able to find 66,822 that we could cut.
You guys gotta remember is when so some people are gonna look at this and gonna think that they can cut certain stuff and it's gonna change that is, so the stuff that comes from, correct, the stuff that comes out as designated fund doesn't even count on that, correct?
Right.
So that's, that's some of the places where people are gonna try to cut, and it's gonna, somehow, you guys as a board, it's gotta explain that when they go and somebody makes a motion to cut the capital reserve on the fire department by 70, from 75,000 to 25,000 to try to save that. You gotta explain that has nothing to do with that.
Right, if the reserve money that they're looking to decrease comes out of the designated fund.
Correct.
If they're looking to decrease money that comes out of raising and or appropriating, then that is a legitimate cut. So,
So if somebody if somebody says, okay, I wanna take. There are 5 committees or 5 warrant, I want facilities to lose 5,000, I want fire department to lose 5,000, I mean, pick a number. Everyone agrees that's what they're going to do. We don't have to go back and figure out where the fire department's gonna cut the 5,000.
No, no.
Fire department needs to go back and do that. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
But you have to go back and re-vote on every single article you cut.
at the lower amount.
Yeah.
Right,
You have
okay,
to ask for reconsideration, everything else, so.
yeah. So I was hoping we didn't have to figure out where we were gonna cut each one of them. That night or that
Not
afternoon.
during, I don't think during the meeting.
no, I think during the meeting, it'll be, if stuff gets cut on the floor of town meeting, then we're already gonna be looking at some slightly different numbers.
Right.
So we're just gonna have to have, Nick's gonna have to be right on it calculating,
Right,
Right.
so.
But we don't have to we don't have to decide if the fire department gets cut by $5,000, is that gonna come out of fuel or
Right.
no, we don't have to, where they cut it. They just-
ventilators or
Their
whatever?
responsibility is to cut it fire.
Right.
Just so you know, it's probably one of the tightest budgets in town.
I'm sorry,
That's probably the tightest budget in town,
yeah.
because we
No,
did,
no, I'm just saying,
we
when
didn't-
people
we-
come up with
we
a,
should have increased. By a sizable amount, more than we didn't, so that budget is very tight.
Right, and your point, Bruce, about keeping in mind how much inflation has affected all of our costs
right,
from personnel, on down. And I think that's something that we all need to keep in mind.
Yeah,
Well,
And we haven't had a tax increase in.
the other thing is, the select board needs to decide whether they're gonna recommend it or not. So now that we have the final numbers, right now, we have no votes on
right, unfortunately, the budget committee is not here to vote on it. So we should
it,
have,
but at the very least, I think,
should have been.
at the very least, I think you need. a slip of paper with that warrant article on it with the correct numbers to hand out when people get their ballot. Things
Oh, yeah.
with a recommendation on it.
Right, of the board's recommendation, it should be a budget committee, but I'm the only one here at the budget committee, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sarah's in Spain, so she's not home. And
So I don't know, you could do budget committee,
Yeah.
it's 1, 4, and 3 absent. Or 4 absent.
Right.
Well, the budget committee could have a meeting between now and next week. To vote on that issue,
but they could.
what would be stopping them from having a meeting to vote on that issue?
We can allow it. With us here, I'm sure we could vote.
I think it's something very important, because we discussed that when we was doing
Right.
the articles, we discussed that we was gonna have a pamphlet that was gonna be handed out when people walked into town meeting with that LD1, with the select board recommendation and the budget committee
There were the
recommendation.
final numbers, because we didn't have the numbers.
Right,
So, but we're redoing the warrant tonight. So your final number is gonna be changed and you're gonna sign a warrant tonight with the new number. The budget committee, keep in mind, while maybe they should be on there, they're advisory only. So I do need a final warrant tonight that's going to be posted by this Friday. Jeremy's coming to do the posting.
Okay, got it.
And then are the cards already printed with a yes and no?
Yes, I already have ballots all ready for the yes and no. I'm gonna do some extras just in case we have any other articles that go to secret ballot, but yeah, the LD ones are already printed. And all it says is yes or no, and that's all that's required to be on that ballot. They
You know,
will,
what I'm saying is just print off the wording of the article on another piece of paper and hand them out with our recommendation.
Maybe staple
Isn't it?
to their card. for
Yeah, it's
voting.
just an addendum with the final thing. This is the book.
okay, we can do that too, but I do need that number finalized for tonight so we can get the warrant finalized.
You
That's-
have
that's
a
no
copy in the gray
Yeah.
folder, Melanie, for you all to sign. That does have that number.
Okay.
So the LD1 tax levy limit is increased over, so this year's municipal property tax levy is 1,672,238. If everything passes on our warrant, we will have exceeded LD1 by 66,822. Make a motion that we set that amount as the LD1.
Second.
See, moved and seconded. How would I phrase that? Tax levy to. However you need to word that one. Because it's not the LD1 number, it's the LD1.
It's this year's municipal property tax levy limit is the 1672.
Right,
If the full budget passes, we will exceed that number by $66,822.
okay, that sounds great.
Good,
I'll
okay.
second- I'll second that. Actually, would we say exceed or increase?
probably wanna say increase, because
It's an increase because it's not an exceed because it doesn't fall under,
Right,
so it would be an increase. All right, is there any further discussion on that number?
The number being 1672238.
The number being 66,822.
The amount.
The
we're
difference.
exceeding.
The difference, yes.
Exceeding.
Yeah.
Or
Increasing.
increasing, not exceeding.
increase.
Number greater than. Okay, so Dan,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. All right, and then I'll take a motion on the select board's recommendation to increase the municipal property tax levy limit by the amount of $66,822.
Second.
Second, third.
Okay, moved and seconded, that is open for discussion. Seeing none, Barbara,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes,
Dan,
Yes,
all right, 3 yeses, 1 no. All right, next up, we have Center for All Seasons
Okay,
repair.
but I just have a question on Article 29.
Yes,
So do we plug a number into there?
that number is the 66,822.
Okay, but where does it go? Does the town vote to increase by 6.6822?
Yes. Well, it'll be whatever the amount is at the end.
The town meeting, but right now, initially, if everything passes, it'll be the.
Right, so that
The-
number will go,
If you look in that gray folder for signatures, the warrant article is written as it will be posted.
When you read it, it had a dollar, it is a dollar.
well, then the only dollar amount was, shall the town vote to increase the property tax levy limit of 1,605,416 established for the town?
Okay.
So that's the number that's printed in the book, because that is our levy limit based on the formula.
So what I see, Melanie, on this warrant article that I'm looking at in the paperwork, it says exceed. Do you want the word exceed or do you want the word increase?
See, in the book, there's no amount written. 'Cause
Right.
We didn't have that.
Have that.
we didn't have that when the book went to print.
I think it, doesn't it say increase?
says
On the-
increase on
yeah.
the warrant.
It says
Yeah,
increase,
on the, right, which is correct.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because the only exceeds in that, Mary, is just will result in a tax commitment that exceeds the property tax levy limit.
okay,
A vote to increase the property tax levy limit.
okay. All right, gotcha.
And so we'll have another handout that will have this with the dollar amount. Or,
I will give out another handout when they check in as a registered voter. They'll also receive a slip of paper with that information on it.
okay,
Which that will simply state that if the complete budget passes, it will increase
Bobby, that.
the municipal property tax levy limit by $66,822.
So the number that's going down is the 1,605,416,
No, that
because that's the
number
current limit.
would, that number would go up.
Huh?
We're gonna
That
increase
number
it
would go
above that.
up.
But isn't that our currently limit that we're voting to exceed
Yes.
We're voting to increase it.
or to increase?
Yes,
Right, so what the state has said,
Okay.
based on the growth of the town of Belgrade. Your
Right, but it's
property
the-
tax commitment should not be greater than this amount. So when you do the initial worksheet, it
Right.
says if this number is greater, then you need to reduce your mill rate.
Right, so shall we vote to increase the property tax levy limit established by the town? So I was just thinking the levy limit is the 1,605,000 because we're voting to increase it to 16,672,
No, so we're voting to increase it.
which is an increase of 66,822.
yes. What you're saying is correct.
I see what you're saying.
So it should be this number, the 1,605. This is the levy limit. And we're voting to increase it to hit this, which is in excess of this amount.
Yes.
Am I, okay, that's where I was getting, okay,
Because if the full budget passes, look at line 14, that is your new.
your new levy,
tax
right,
Levy.
so that should be
Which
the
is
number. the other
The
one.
line,
You're saying it one way, she's saying another
Yeah.
way, both sides of the same thing,
Okay.
it's just,
all on the same page.
Okay, all right, just as long as,
So what we'll need, Mary, is just this slip of paper, and if you want to type it in or something before that's done, that if the whole warrant as presented passes, we will increase the property tax levy limit by $66,822.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
And then that number would be the base for next year.
For next, one, right. You satisfied?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Center for All Seasons repairs and recommendations. Now, I noticed on this warrant, we just paid them for this, correct?
18 Hodston,
Yes.
yeah.
Wasn't a lot of money, 600 bucks, 580 something, 581, I don't know. I saw it and I was surprised that it was not more.
Yeah, that's some pretty reasonable.
Well, they quoted us 500, give or take.
Oh, okay.
So they were
Right.
pretty spot on.
And it does say that they conducted a partial visual structural observation. So
We
does that mean
have
there's more coming?
There's a lift to get into the ceiling above the gymnasium.
We did a lot, I mean, he did a lot of, he went up in the crow's nest, crawled all the way through to the social room, so yeah, he did,
She did that.
he did probably, I'm gonna say probably close to 60-70% of inspection and stuff, so.
And basically,
581.
this is under the impression that over the recreation area is gonna be the same thing as what he looked at. It's all from one end of the building to the other, it was the same. So he wasn't too concerned about not getting in there, but when we do get a scissor lift, he will come back and just stick his head up there.
Yeah.
To go along with this.
Okay, so in layman's terms, what are we looking at?
There's a lot of holes punched into the firewalls in the attic. For access to running wires. Phone wires, computer wires and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
communication line.
Those need to be fixed. Insulation is not adequate. That's why we're having such ice problems.
Yeah,
The structural beam in the boiler room is cracked in 2 places on the one beam that's exposed enough that we could see. So we would have to get up there to scrape the insulation off the other beam to see how that one is. So there's structural beams, there's, of course, the beams on the outside and the porch that are rotted, the attic insulation.
chimney,
The chimney, the roof, the insulation around the chimney.
and isn't the insulation inside around the chimney gonna be nasty?
It's gonna be, yep,
Yeah,
it's wet, it's dripping, it's got rodents. So. There was something else, what was it?
the kitchen area is also being in the kitchen area too.
Yep, and then also, like right now, I cleaned off as much of the snow as I could possibly clean off up there over the weekend. And there's probably this much ice built up on that end of the roof.
Yeah,
So we got a lot of heat loss going on over the kitchen.
so are we looking 50, 60,000? We're looking more,
He said the 70,000 that we're looking at to put in there might cover the
The
installation.
installation, if you're lucky.
might cover just the insulation.
Installation. To solve the problem of ice.
Ice buildup, heat loss, I mean,
I'm sorry,
heat loss.
oh, yeah. Yeah, you look at the.
Which would include around the chimney, you know.
Right.
So. The insulation, that broken beam, which has to be engineered.
Yeah.
To be structurally sound. Fix the roof, fix the chimney, maybe it's just the chimney that needs to be new, recaulked, repointed. It's gonna take somebody to get up there, or once the snow is gone, you take a peek at that and see what's going on.
And how many years has it been since that fireplace was in use?
Also,
20 something,
yeah, I don't, because I don't think insurance allows us to use it.
right?
So if we're not using it, can't we put a stainless steel cap?
I know, I'm
on
like,
top
why
of
have
it?
only capped it prior to now?
I don't know.
And we could put a fake fireplace in there, those TV things.
So you can put electric one in there. I make
Yeah.
electric ones now, I got one at my house.
You know,
I guess. Recommendation I would make to you guys is. Where the beam's gotta be engineered this and that, I would probably see how much Hodgson will charge to. Kind of spec this job, to write a spec sheet. And so it can go out to RFP. I think that's where you guys need to go, so it's gonna take some course.
I was kind of hoping that's what we were gonna get from this.
Yeah, for that little bit of money, no,
Oh, yeah.
you're not gonna get that.
Well, maybe that's why I was so surprised it was so low. I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa,
You're
this
looking,
is,
get something like that, you're looking in the thousands,
yeah,
because it's gonna take time, because they got spec it and so on and so forth.
No. We've
The-
started and stopped that project so many times.
Oh,
Is there a folder for the Center for All Seasons that has all the stop starts, all the work? Because that area over the.
Mary found some stuff the other day. That was in a folder in there. I think I have a couple different folders, maybe in my office.
Lily had a good record of what was done when her mom and her were involved there, but she had a very good, I don't know where that was.
So we should check with Dan, because that should still be in that building.
Somewhere, she had a very good record.
But honestly, what I would like to see, Corey, is for you to pull together all the records on what has already been done, what still needs to be done. We've set aside money so many times to do this project, and then it doesn't get completed.
And I think that's why we're here right now, when there's still 4 feet of snow on the ground. So that we have a plan that includes you guys. Step by step, what do we want to do and how do we want to do it? And it's the same thing with North Belgrade. Because North Belgrade, I was up there looking at the attic insulation the other day, trying to figure out how to get 2 feet of ice on that building. There's no access to over the bathrooms into the attic, and there's no access over the kitchen into the attic. So I have no clue as to what's up there. But I do know there's a hole. Because I get up there and I can see light out through the roof.
So we just
So-
replace that roof.
Yeah, for the Odin,
Yeah,
So I'm gonna have to call, is it Fowler?
power roof, I think.
Fowler Roofing, and have them come up and look at it.
So, yeah.
Did
I
the
guess
Senate
we've
too.
had-
Whether it's
had all
the, something has happened around the boot for the vent, I don't know, but. You don't need a flashlight to see over by that boot, because you can see right out through the roof.
yeah.
And just so you know, all the facilities except probably this one and this town, that's not having close to adequate insulation, that's the leaks.
Well, it's because nothing has. I mean, I built my house 25 years ago. It was adequate at the time. Now the
Yeah,
recommendations, you know,
Lakes Fire Station has that much insulation in the attic.
so that's something that we can certainly start working on. I mean, if it's gonna be $70,000 to do one building, I'm looking to see, is this gonna be a capital project that we need to
I think it
fund
should be.
for?
I mean, that's why I think you need to get
Several
you need to
years.
get an engine, you get the engineer to spec it, to spec the product. That way there, he'll give you how much per square foot. Estimate per square foot it's gonna cost to insulate that building with what type of insulation, is,
The
I don't know
insulation that's
that.
up there doesn't look too bad. I mean, there's a few
So it feels like we just did.
creepy
insulate
crawlies here
stuff
and there.
there, not-
Pieces and pack. When we have a break, when there's been a sprinkler break and we have water damage. Then that section of area got done to, at that time, standards at that time. And as, we've had the sprinkler break in what used to be the library, we had a sprinkler break in the social, library, kitchen. I think boiler room or something.
did they repair everything at that time? So that's been repaired, we don't have to worry about.
That's been repaired and spray foam. But see, some of that spray foam is gonna have to be scraped off because the beams are broke.
Some of the spray was already falling.
Yeah, because of the snow hitting so hard on the roof. It's knocked the foam, it's cracked the foam and knocked the foam off.
The roof over the boiler room is probably got a 6-inch sag in it. If you.
Has a 6-inch sag,
If you stand on the ground and line yourself up just right and sight up the ridge,
so what's the most critical part to be done?
the boiler room's roof needs to be fixed. That's pretty important.
Yeah. But once again, I still think you need to start with.
I think we need a comprehensive one, but, you know, it's how do you lead an elephant, one bite at a time, and we at least need to take care of the critical
I'm
pieces.
still gonna take an engineer to,
Absolutely,
you know.
yeah, I mean,
that's
have
why
an
I think you need
engineer
to
the whole thing, but-
Contact Hodgson and see how much it's gonna cost to engineer everything, spec it. I mean, Dan can speak of that. I mean, he deals with jobs the same way that most of his jobs, I'm sure, are engineered too. Commercial jobs.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. Anything of insulation and beams and stuff like that should be, go through an engineer.
He did find the blueprints or the plans for the addition, so that's something that we do have or will have. We don't have to figure out where those are, so he did find those,
Okay,
which is a
so
good thing.
before our next meeting, is it okay if we task you with whatever can be found at the summer fall seasons, whatever you possibly
Absolutely.
have? So that we've got a binder that
Yep.
says, hey, in 1998, we did this. 2010, we did this. Because we've got to really figure out, you know, we piecemeal so many things, and that's why I think it was at least 5 years ago that I said I wanted a 5-year plan. And how are we gonna handle these steps over the next 5 years? Because the plan was to have it done at this point, and we're still spinning our wheels. So then we start from scratch, because we've had personnel leave. And that's why I feel like I'm such a wench about it, but I'm like, I want something to stay with every building. So it doesn't matter what personnel leaves. We don't lose the data that we need and that we spent money to collect.
Just the biggest thing is, as future boards go, sometimes the cheapest bid or the cheapest price is not the way to go on these buildings.
We fought that from that building from the get-go.
Not only that, building, several buildings.
All right, so we comfortable bringing this one back to the next meeting, seeing where we're at, so we can start putting a plan together.
Should you guys also find out how much Hodgson would charge? Just give you guys a ballpark idea what he would charge to engineer and inspect it, the project.
Right, that should be part of it.
All right,
So Corey will do that, get in touch with Hudson's.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he told me if we needed any other information, just give him a call.
They're really good. I like them.
Yeah, he was very thorough. I mean. Yeah, I mean, there's one hole over there that somebody punched a hole through the ceiling of a closet. So now we have a hole this big, goes up to the ceiling, into the space, and then they opened up holes through the firewalls, so now it's spread. So all that heat has gone right up into the area of where the chimney is. So
Right.
is that what ended up causing the problem of
so
freezing?
then why were those holes put there in the first place?
There was no access. No access is put in to get from one end of the building to the other end of the building. It should have been fire. That's, you know, that's what I'm saying in construction. It should have been at fire approved, approved fire access doors.
Right,
Put in between, it wasn't. So all they did when cable come, internet come, they blew holes through the walls to get from point A to point B. But get insulation in, because it's been re-insulated once. because, well, I shouldn't say re-insulated, insulated, because it wasn't even insulated first time around. That's how they found there wasn't no insulation in a lot of the places up there, and that's why we kept freezing up.
And then we went back to the company that constructed it and.
Yeah, we got nothing out of it.
Good job.
Yeah. So that's how most of them holes got put in, is for them to carry insulation into areas that didn't have insulation. And wires and stuff.
All right.
But there's been multiple companies in there. That's what I'm saying. I think it's the point now, you need a good reputable engineering company that will spec it. Oversee the project. That way, you guys are getting, you know, like this project, you guys are getting what you're paying for.
We
Yeah.
gotta figure out how we pay for that, but.
It's something that you're not gonna pay, you know, we all know it's not gonna get paid for this year. Yeah, but most you may be able to do is get that beam fixed and maybe the leak on the chimney, or you may have to start budgeting it, you know, down the road and, you know, unfortunately, you know, I'm all for the Senate, you know, for the rec programs, but we may have to take some of their capital reserve money each year to fund some of this project. I mean, rest of the departments have to do that stuff to defend their, you know, defend their building, you know, do work on their buildings, and that may have to start with, I mean, I realize they have been doing that, but
I was just gonna say, cause that's always been a collaborative effect, you know.
but it's gonna, unfortunately, I think this is gonna hurt pretty.
Well, they have a healthy reserve account too. They have over
Yeah.
$100,000, so. I mean, we need to take care of the building. It's the town's responsibility.
Yeah, so,
I thought we had wiped out a good chunk of that capital.
no, I'm
reserve.
just looking at
No.
some
No, we did not.
audit report.
All right. Moving on.
That's what it's
Any
for.
more good news?
That's what the capital reserve fund is for.
Right.
That's right.
Capital projects, so.
That's right.
All right, so let's get to new business.
Hmm.
Okay, the animal shelter contract renewal. So I did ask Lorna to pull this one forward. Mary's been trying to get us on task. This one expired December 31st, as did our assessor contract.
Right.
So what's up?
And mine,
And yours?
they didn't realize it is.
So I,
Animal people are using 2010 census.
I don't know, this, I had to contact her for the
So we've had census.
contract. I think they've been so busy that
I
she
think
forgot to send it, so
2010,
she
not
sent this
2020.
one over, and this is actually the same price as what we paid in 2022. There wasn't in, there
I
is.
was wondering if they made a mistake on their census,
Oh,
forgot to update it, I don't want to come back and go, oh, we screwed up. We more money.
mhm.
yeah, because there was a couple of $100 difference, I think, between them and Waterville, maybe not last year. The year before, because we usually get a quote from both and then decide who we stay with. I think we've stayed with Augusta now for the last few years, but prior to that, we were with Waterville for several years.
And they're building a new facility that's right on the lake, right? So that
That's what
would
it
be,
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
more,
huge.
that would be much more convenient for our animal control officer to take.
Plus they're gonna be able to handle more animals, I understand.
All right.
Okay, so do we need a motion to bring it in?
Yes.
It's still going.
I left my phone in the car, so does anybody have the total?
Does anybody have what?
The total.
It's
Oh,
5,000, it's on the warrant article, because it's the same amount.
Oh, for the animal control shelter,
$5,070.48.
and you said it's on this one?
Yeah, because it shows the 2022 expense, the budget. Under public safety, probably.
Oh, I thought you were talking about in this warrant. I was like, we put it on, the AP warrant is what I was. like,
Oh, no,
I was like, what?
sorry. The town meeting warrant under public safety, animal.
Oh, yeah, I know I had seen that. I know I had seen that.
Well, it's under contracted services. It's not split out here. I don't see. It's got the animal control officer. But it is, sorry, that's split out. I did check it today because we wanted to see if there was an increase as compared to the last contract, but there is not. It's the same amount.
Gotta grab it quick before they
5,070,
change their mind.
5,740.
No, 5,070
70,
and
48.
48 cents.
Okay. So I make a motion that the town approves the contract with KV Humane Society, the total amount of $5,070.48. The contract runs from January 1, 2023 to December 31, 2023.
Second,
Moved in second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Dan,
Yes,
Carol,
yes,
Barbara?
Yes,
All right, 4 yeses. Okay, we've done appointments. So then we'll have RFP drafts.
Madam Chair, I think Corey wanted to speak about the, was it the tax? You were still looking at, Corey,
Yeah, pest control.
if the board wants to move that forward to another meeting. He had some items, I think he was thinking he wanted to pull out of it.
Okay, and do we have, I meant to ask you this today and I just been busy at work. Do we have the RFPs that we've already used for these? Like,
Here's one, I think. I said, I just want to make sure,
That's
Well, I was
the
gonna bring
actual
contract.
contract.
so I just want to make sure all this gets.
I
on
told
the
you what we had in
RFPs.
the system.
Yeah, we have all the RFPs.
okay, so these ones here that are new, if we have the ones that we currently use and then work with the two of them together. Instead of starting with all new RFPs.
but aren't these the ones that we've used in the past?
The assessing, heating and plumbing, sand and salt.
Yeah, see, I was in a 2-year contract. I don't know why it's going to a 1-year contract. People been a 2 or 3 year, and we've always decided on 2-year contracts.
So we're gonna put something out about a 3-year contract and it has to go to approval from the legislative body.
Well, I can't, I was looking at that and I don't want to, I didn't understand the language on that because. That I'm guessing if you're getting a retainer, if that's the case, then the plow contract only can be a 1-year contract.
Right.
You can get legislative body approval at town meeting to, or you could do a perpetuity article, I would guess, maybe do one that says this is, allows the board to negotiate multi-year contracts
I think that,
in place until. we
Feels like we have a
You don't.
policy, there's something here that does give us the authority to negotiate multi-year
But is
contracts
that-
if it's in the best interest of the town of Belgrade.
Right, but you would only be able to do that if you have legislative body approval, but we didn't, Mary and I both looked. Did you find anything?
No, and I haven't gotten back to it, but I know that there was a warrant article and you and I talked about this. That would allow for a 3-year contract. But every article is only good for the year in which it's voted. Unless it's continued as a perpetuity article, and I do not recall that that article was a perpetuity article at all. So I will look again tomorrow, Lorna, but I haven't had a chance to go back to do the research.
Thank you, Mary. I did include a list of the
Okay,
updated
so those
perpetuity
ones, okay,
articles in your packet because we both did look at that and could not
Some of you guys
find.
need to get into these. The school budget. Time voting then, because there's a lot of contracts in this town, one-year contracts.
Right.
Waste management. Or filing,
It would be anything new because I don't think you're going to go, you've already put contracts in effect, but as things are coming up that you need to do a new contract,
I
it would
think
be
I
the 1 year.
would contact MMA, because it
I
feels like,
did,
yeah, it feels like that ties our hands and it makes you pay a higher portion if you're doing a 1 year contract.
I mean,
There's no
because
point
I'm
in
gonna
allowing us to
check.
negotiate a contract if it also ties our hands to be able to negotiate a contract.
you can do a multi-year contract, but you have to have authority from the legislative body to do so. And that comes from the municipal officers manual. And I did double check with MMA just in case, and they confirmed that.
So
So what I
basically, we'd have to
provided-
put an article on the warrant.
For a town meeting or special town
Or
meeting
special town meeting.
or in June.
You could do it in
That
June.
says, or asks for authority to negotiate multi-year contracts.
yeah, because that will kill us a waste management, on a waste management contract, we can't.
Well, there's no point in us doing, and us having contracts if we can't negotiate. I feel like we spend a lot of time like trying to see what Belgrade hasn't been doing right. And I feel like that's something that, honestly, that were not brought to our attention. Honestly, why would it be? But now it is, so now it's in the forefront, so now we're gonna have to try to figure out how to handle that moving forward. But it also, our sand and salt contracts, our winter maintenance, our waste management, everything that
So-
we've done this way makes it look like we're doing stuff underhanded and we're not, and that
So,
frustrates me.
right, so my recommendation I would make as a taxpayer to you guys. Is maybe you hold off on sending RFPs out for contracts until after you do the vote, so you do have the ability to negotiate contracts. With multi-year contracts,
But we wouldn't be able to get that now till June.
right? I mean, you can work.
Or we do a 1 year to get us through and then next year we renegotiate for a longer
It's
term,
not even a 1 year contract at this point,
right?
we're in the March. And actually, by the time you send the RFP and this and that, you're gonna be in the April,
Right. It would be for the remainder of the year.
right? And it's a lot of hassle for somebody, you know.
Can you
people-
work under the, I mean, you would like, we already have Rob working, doing assessing, you've been doing as you
Right,
normally
just
I know
do. Can
everybody
you,
just keeps doing it.
Right, just keep doing it and, you know,
Can you-
unfortunately, we're stuck at the same amount, if we do a new contract, but.
Well, it sounds like we need to get that clarified, get a perpetuity article, whatever we need to be ready for June and figure out what we're gonna do in the short term. Because,
I mean, you just keep on doing it as is, you just
Just
keep
let it
working.
lie
yeah,
right now.
Yeah, because I mean, we've been working 3 months without a contract now, so.
right, I'm just saying so that we get that figured out and
Mm.
in the meantime. So maybe for the next meeting or for the April meeting, we come back with what can be done.
How
Where are
soon,
we at?
how soon do you have to have that article or that article ready for June vote? Because I would have to go to public hearing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So by,
April,
Mary,
Yes,
do you know
it's
what,
April.
is it 90 days?
Yeah, it would be in April. So we could get it ready.
Like secret ballot and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then
No,
we.
that would be easy to get ready.
So if we do it in April, so do we need to make sure it's on the agenda for next meeting? Between now and then, we get things together, figure out what it is and what the wording is gonna be, and that gives us time to knock it around before the April meeting when we vote on it, to get ready to go on the ballot the next time we vote.
Yes, sooner rather than later is better.
I mean, that's what I would suggest. Do we,
Well, the
Maybe
votes,
just
the votes,
discuss-
what, around the 13th of June or something like that? Is that when it means?
Do you know off the top of your head, is that the first or second
I think-
Tuesday, Mary?
I think it's the second Tuesday, so I'm not looking at a calendar right now,
I
but
have it in front of me,
Yes, the
so
13th.
June
it
13th?
is, the 13th is the second Tuesday.
Yeah,
I think that's not when it is.
yeah, and I would hope that the school budget would be happening around the same time, if not sooner. I know, they've done the school budget in May.
But the voters don't vote until June.
We've had voting for school budget in May before, so,
Really?
yeah, we have. So not in the recent past, but in the past, we voted in May. And the state doesn't have anything for June.
So do you think they'll have their budget earlier? What are you saying there, Mary?
I'm saying, I'm not really sure when they're scheduled for their school budget. Their,
I just say come up with a warrant article, write it
next
out for the
meeting,
next
yeah.
meeting.
Yeah,
right.
let's do it.
And then we'll have it ready and,
So it's a simple warrant article. It's not gonna.
Right.
right, doesn't need a lot.
I just want to be sure how it came up, like, hey. Are they doing this right? I
Well,
would have
you know,
I would have been
still
like,
have
these
to remain on a
contracts
couple of
expire.
days.
Let's get.
Yeah,
them
it is corrected. Yeah,
I
so
think
you have that correct.
Like, well, electric,
This one still has his name.
Yeah, I
on it.
haven't figured out now yet either.
yeah, like, well, electrical isn't on
I pulled that from our files.
there. Yeah, well, we sent out electrical bid too, because Dan and Doug usually get the bid on that, so. So we'll have that at the same time.
no, the electrical, no.
Ah.
So something happened between the electrical and the plumbing and heating, and the electrical did not happen at the same time. It was.
That's a different contract, right, Mary?
Right, right. So it's at a different time. It's not in the same schedule anymore.
I think it probably ought to be,
Is there any way that we
especially
could,
if we have to get the thing to allow us to do it, so.
we could do these, so all of them come due, we're talking about them in December to be ready for January 1st?
That's a.
I know that's budget
I
time.
think, yeah, I think that now we're moving things. I think you guys should do June. That way you're through budget season. You're at a better time of year for you guys as a board, to have more time to spend on going through stuff.
I just think all of them should be at
Yes.
one time, so that
Yes.
we know ahead of time.
They were all at one time, Dan's company, the electrical, the pump, I don't know what happened, how,
Yeah,
So-
they were all at one time, but now Dan's not till, I think it's 2024. I don't know what happened.
Well, if it's already out there, then we have to honor that contract, right?
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm like, oh, there's
But
another new rule.
even if we honor it, I mean, we'll just make it due in June of 2024, like
Right.
everybody else's when it comes.
Yeah, everyone else, so a July 1st, from
If it
July
If it
1st,
runs out and they want to continue at that price,
right?
until then, that's fine, but
And I
Let's get
only
it back on
picked
some
up on the multi-year contract because we wanted to get RFPs ready. In doing my due diligence, I asked Mary if we had a perpetuity article or legislative body approval to enter into multi-year contracts, and we looked at the list and couldn't find anything. I only know that you need legislative body approval from experience in other towns. We've had to get legislative body approval to do a multi-year winter maintenance contract.
Right,
So to protect us and be legal and compliant, I just provided the information.
Yeah.
well, let's just
Let's
move
just do
forward
it.
with
It's
it.
easy enough to do.
Get a warrant for next meeting, and then we can look at it. Get the warrant article written, and we can figure out when to vote on it.
yeah, I mean, it's simple, all we can do is allow the select board to enter into a multi-year contract.
Right, I mean, just
and make it a perpetuity article.
Yeah,
Just do it, just.
And
do
get it
quick.
ready, so it
That
can
way
be
you
voted
don't
on the
have
next time there's voting.
Vote comes up in May, that's right.
Yeah,
Okay, and then we just want to remember to keep the agenda a little bit light on the next one, just because it's the first one after town meeting and we don't have a new member.
right, yeah.
So,
Oh, here are the
we have
perpetuity articles.
article.
You put them in here,
yes.
behind the RFP.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't need those.
The-
Yes.
MMA, the municipal officers manual information is also there. I think it's from chapter 7.
Okay, so the ones that have expired are assessing, heating and plumbing,
Yes,
right?
yeah. And the sand and salt, you all extended, or David Stevens had agreed to extend to June 30, I believe. So that one will also end
It'd be there.
middle of the year, so. And then we've not had any pest services. We have an agreement with
Yeah, I think.
Modern, is it
Modern,
Modern?
then I think we just were running off that.
Right, and we do not have anything for tree services, so those are in a sense new.
I think tree services we need. But I looked at. But Jason's doing part of our tree work too.
He's doing the sides of roads and stuff like that, but he still calls, is it All Seasons?
Yes,
Okay.
He still calls them for the taller stuff, brush removal and
Oh,
chipping
okay.
and that stuff, he'll rent a chipper.
Yeah, because I saw the
His
warrant, I'm
crew
like,
will go cut the brush and then
yeah,
the bigger stuff, he'll call All Seasons.
So I think what we need to do is, we need to have the road commissioner come in. There used to be a different policy. We had a tree committee. We had the road commissioner. We didn't hire a lot of folks to come in and do island trimming and things like that. It was if there were nuisance trees that were in the roadway or coming into the roadway, how do we address them? There's some stuff when we're, encroaching in the state's property, we should pass the, what is it, 15 feet on either side. I just want to make sure that the road commissioner is doing the road commissioner's portion of it, and that this, we used to have a different collaborative approach, I guess. So the reason that I requested that we put something together for tree services is that we also can't pick one person in town, especially when the amount that we have spent on that this year is well over 15,000. And the requirement is that if it's more than $15,000 expended, then it has to go to contracted
Right.
services, has to go for RFP. So we haven't been in this position before, because we haven't, I don't believe we've ever had tree services that cost us more than 15,000. So it used to be the tree warden would work in conjunction with the road commissioner, because that's the other parts I don't want us to miss, is that we also remember that when you had, a lot of trees that came down from a storm, that those were brought by the road commissioner to the transfer station, and then that was used for folks who are low income to go and get firewood. So we've kind of fallen off from some of that stuff. And how important is it for us to get back to those sorts of pieces? And do we want that to be the road commissioner's portion, or is that gonna be whoever we hire to do tree services? And how much do we want them to do? I mean, do we want them pruning all of Belgrade? Or do we want to wait until there's an issue? And then have a tree service that we can contact who'll go out and do emergency work for us?
I think that's what Jason's been doing, is hiding them just do emergency, so all these storms of heavy snow.
I think $150 an hour is a lot of money to be
Wow.
paying, and then they're paying for all the other stuff too. It's not.
I mean, the brush, I know what he's working on now is brush cutting on the side of the roads, and they haven't been done for years, and that's.
Yeah.
The roads are growing in, but my understanding, and somebody can. Remember or can find this, I believe Warner is technically the tree warden. It's gone, it's since the tree, since.
Right, since we don't have a tree.
Right,
committee.
it's fall back, Dennis Ketchel was, Dennis Ketchel, and then it was Anthony,
Yep.
so.
Then it
all-
got,
your business card.
they're training something, because I have no idea, but I'm happy to do it. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Get
So, but
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Mary.
ma'am.
I was just gonna say, Melanie, I think you appointed Jason as the tree warden. So that was done last year and the year before. So Jason's been the tree warden also, as well as the road commissioner.
All right.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Not to throw another monkey wrench into anything, but speaking of trees. Behind the Dalton property between 27 and houses. There's several very large dead trees. That I'm not sure where the property line is, because I just haven't been there enough. There are several very big, very dead trees that we're gonna have to take care of. Before they're on the house, or they're all along the road, or something like that, so.
There are, them pine trees, those are trees.
Yeah,
There's another walk,
There's another lot
behind.
in there too.
Yeah, there's another walk behind the Dalton property, we own.
So it is ours.
Yeah, it's got all the fire departments granted in it.
So then we'll probably have to check the shoreline zoning.
I don't, I think, I think,
These are dead, they got to go.
Yeah.
It still doesn't matter. If they're in shoreline zoning, you still have
I
to.
think they're past the 250 feet.
They have to be,
As long as, if they're up past the 250, all right.
Yeah,
Even dead ones that are hanging in the water, technically, you're not supposed to touch them.
no, you're supposed to let them
Just to
die.
let 'em go- let
let the
'em
beaver
go.
stream down.
Yeah, right.
Oh. People do that and pass it. It's good.
Um,
Make it simple.
okay.
Sounds good to me.
Robert, be careful with that too.
Did I speed it by? Did you get a chance to read it to the end?
Did what?
Did you get a chance to read it? to
No,
the
I
end?
did not read it coming back.
Sorry, I was like, she must have read that as fast as I did.
That way, if it looks good, we don't have to worry about that. If I make not much corrections next time.
Okay,
All right, looks good. Oh, the Dan Newman perpetuity article. All right, did anybody
So,
see?
so can we vote on it tonight or not? We have to.
now we have to have a public hearing, don't we?
No, I mean, we can write the article anytime and then you,
Oh,
once we vote on it, then we send it to a public hearing. I mean, 2 weeks, we should be fine.
yeah, should be fine. We'll get typed up and. Okay, are we,
So
But if it's
Bruce, you
90
wanted
if
to
it's
make sure
90
that
days.
liability insurance is in every RFP.
The general liability, workers' comp, and the vehicle. The vehicle's not on it, I didn't catch that, but that's something that goes, my insurance sends all three right here every March.
Okay.
And it's been the policy of this town that anybody that has a contract with the town has to have workers' comp and
and I assume that we have, copies on file. The town's listed
yeah,
as
I
an
mean,
additional
that's,
insured.
Well, that's just it. We used to, I'm surprised that we don't anymore. They're listed as additional insured.
Yeah, we should be.
yeah, see with me, you are.
Yeah, see, I think we got away with it. We got away from that because at one point, it was costing these contractors an additional amount of money. And they were billing the town to be listed, have somebody listed as
To be
additional
listed.
insured.
Right,
Yeah, see with me.
But
with
how do
me,
we know that they can't let the policy cancel or slide? If you're not listed, you're noticed if you're listed.
you know,
So
You're not
we,
listed, you won't know.
we do keep those on file, and Nick has a book of them, and Bruce Galush is very good. His insurance company gets them in all the time. But they do have to say, naming the town of Belgrade as an additional insured.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we do have a complete book of them, so.
Okay,
right. So I think what he's saying is to make sure that that's part of the RFPs.
on all, yeah.
Or not.
Let me make a note.
Okay, and the budget, I just checked the RSU 18 budget process and June 13th is the
Yes,
vote.
to vote. Okay.
But if we have 90 days, we have to have What do we have? What do we have to have within 90 days? So we're coming right up on 90 days.
Public hearing.
Has to be within 90 days.
Barbara,
Okay.
60
Never mind.
days,
60 days.
60 days on a referendum question.
Oh, 60 days. Okay, we're good. We're good.
No, pest services. Sorry, I have a kink in my neck. Do we want to have in here? We had requirements that at the Center for All Seasons and at the North Belgrade Community Center, that what was being used was not. I mean, there were ant, I remember when they first started doing it, there were like ant traps out in the Center for All Seasons, right where the toddlers were playing and.
If
Things like
they
that, so they're
use
supposed to be-
spray, there's no reason that they need to have any of that, so.
Right, well, and so we checked in with them a couple of different times and they were. Supposedly making stuff, like putting stuff inside the buildings or around the perimeters that were. A little more eco-friendly.
Yeah,
So I
they
just wanna
definitely,
make sure
they all
that-
have eco-friendly stuff, I mean, and then they can use sticky boards for, like ants to see if there's actually a problem, so if we're not seeing problems with ants on these sticky boards, then they don't need to be spraying anything harsh for it,
Right,
so.
so that's why I'm just wondering if we need to have some language in there, because it was the storage of the food at the North
Yeah.
Belgrade Community Center. Plus folks were using it, they use it as a gathering place, so we didn't want stuff around where the food areas were that would be.
Yeah.
Nasty.
The other thing, probably when you guys are doing RFP, the depot and lake station probably should be involved in that, because we do store meds in both stations.
Okay. So we don't have that, I don't think down here, right? So far, seasons more fun to read. Who do we need for pest services at town parks?
Mosquito and tick, if so choose. Yeah, but mosquito and
Would it
tick is
be
a
more-
total different
Yeah,
bird.
like, would it be the same kind of contractor though? Because I feel like there's pest services
It's
and then there's, you know, the brown tail moth and ticks.
Brown-tailed moth is not covered by any pest services. It's against, they need to be state licensed people, that's why Hans has,
Mosquito bandito guy.
yeah, they have a different, a license.
Right, because
State
there's
to deal with.
another one that I'm thinking if there's competition, aerial brown tail moth clipping is. There,
Yeah, so the moth, brown-tailed moth is a different story. Mosquito and tick is a different story, other than, you know. It needs to be sprayed, but it does not get covered under a pest control contract, because mosquito and tick are both a monthly service where. Pest control is a quarterly service, so.
because they come and do my mosquito and tick once.
Do
And
they
I
just?
can have them do it twice in this mosquito banditos, that's how.
Yeah,
That's how we
there's
got
different
hooked
options,
up with the
but
town.
different options, but it's not covered under a pest control.
So,
It's a different contract.
right,
Now, our lawn people do ticks. I don't think we do anything for the.
Corey, this is the
They
one
treat
you
the
wanted to
perimeter.
review.
Yeah.
myself,
they
right.
do
Yeah.
ticks and then. What they
Yeah.
use for the ticks, the citronelle, and it takes care of the mosquitoes. So for like 2 weeks, I have the doors all open because there's no mosquitoes. And I can totally tell when the citronelle starts to wear off, because all of a sudden I'm like, ah.
And
Close the
whatever they
door,
use is okay for your dogs.
Yep, there's a couple of different options that you can pick from. But they were fantastic. That's why I hooked everybody I could think of here, because they were like, if you see a tick, call us and we'll come back.
Yeah.
And I was
they're mosquito bandito and the lower. No, I don't wanna say lower level, well, they're not the big corporations. Are much better price wise.
Yeah, and places like that, I wouldn't necessarily put out there an RFP. If you're using something twice a year. It's the same thing. My
Oh.
fire extinguishers that I've always done for the town have never been on RFP because it's a small enough
It's a good
amount.
thing.
It's a small enough amount, and by the time you put out the RFP, everybody is gonna actually jack the price up because it takes time to do an RFP.
Yeah, and it's just a quick phone call, say, hey, can you come spray?
It's the stuff that you're gonna, you know.
Typically done by the acre.
About $5, $6, $7, $8,000, $10,000.
Right.
I worry more about the contracts. You know, something that's in there every single month.
So should we take town parks off this past RFP? 'Cause it's
Yeah, I
kind
hadn't
of
totally
the-
looked at this thing, so.
Well, that's why I figured they're drafts, so this is probably the time for us to kind of.
Yeah, we could
Take
take
'em
parks
apart.
off and then like Dan said, if we want to do,
We
mosquito
also-
and tick someplace, we just call somebody and say, hey, what are you guys charging per acre?
Right,
Yeah, just
You know?
if you wanna get a couple competitive prices, do it that.
dams is on there too, the depot fire station, North Belgrade and Lakes are all on there as part of this.
Okay,
Sand and salt shed. We can probably take that up, do we have a lot of pests in there?
No, sand fleas.
The winter fleas are out. Have you seen that?
No, the snow ones are like.
Yeah.
"Bing, bing."
Yeah.
So on page 3, what it says is, the contractor shall be required to perform monthly inspections of elected buildings, inspections of other locations as required. So they wouldn't, this is for the pest control, that they would deal with the buildings and only deal with the parks, dams and,
Well, we would have permanents coming in to do anything at the dam.
right.
Or moving past isn't, it isn't,
But I'm just saying that I don't know that we have to take them out because it just says inspection of other locations as required. And if we just have a comprehensive list of the standard list of all kinds of facilities, then it wouldn't necessarily have to be required.
but if I were looking at this as somebody's looking for a proposal, I would be like, what do they expect, what would they want me to be doing at the dam? So I would think that the RFP should be consistent with where they would actually,
And so should only be buildings.
should be buildings.
I see when it comes to the pest control stuff, we let Corey take it, write it up, and then bring it back to us.
Right.
Instead of us picking it apart tonight.
Right.
We can
That's what
do
you
that.
just said, I said I haven't even seen it.
So,
And then I guess we really are gonna have to try to figure out what it is we're looking at for tree services. Cause here we've got annual grid and annual pruning, removing the trees, inventory, system management, and other agriculture related services. Required licenses necessary to apply pesticides. So I think we do need to talk to Jason and maybe get more of a list of what is he responsible for, what does he want somebody else to be responsible for, and how far do we want to dig into it?
have we checked with a few of the surrounding towns, see if they contract with tree services? If we can, they may have an RFP that they use. That makes sense too, instead of us trying to guess on some of the stuff.
Right,
plus when you're doing your prices, you want to get your facilities. You know, when you're doing the RFP, make sure you include your facilities, not just the town roads, but the facilities too.
Yeah, I mean, I
Reach
would,
out to some-
if you can get an hourly rate for doing whatever they're doing, you know.
I mean, that's how mine is.
You know, what's your hourly rate for people, what's your hourly rate for your bucket truck, what's your hourly rate for this, just get our. This is what you can charge us. Because there's no way you're gonna get, a big old tree that falls down, it could take 3 hours to clean it up, take 5 hours to clean it up.
Right.
It's basically all hourly.
And you could, or it's in a spot where you need 2 flaggers, or it could be in a spot where you only need 1 flag.
right.
You know, so it's gonna vary from time to time.
Well, that's why I wanted
See
to
how
bring
many
them
of
forward,
them
because I was like, let's just bring them forward, like, where are we at with these so far, so that we can kind of start hashing it out.
Yeah.
All right. So what are our thoughts on those? What are we, like assessing heating and plumbing? And we're moving this forward.
It's all formalized. for you.
Probably check with the assessor and make sure that they're comfortable continuing service on whatever contract.
Yeah, I mean, not much we can do if we're gonna wait and put it out for votes, we'll continue it anyway, so. I don't want all new contracts. You know, yeah, you can use an RFP until June. So. If we've got those two that are ready to go, we'll just set them aside and get stuff from Corey and look at it and find out from the tree services, we'll formalize them all and just vote on them all.
Good enough. All right. Moving on. Little ones. All right, and I didn't have a town manager's report in here, Lorna. Was there one?
Yeah, I finished it up today.
Did I miss something into my email? Was I- Then that. All right, so B and B warrant number 23, in the amount of $4,087.25. I'll make that motion. Second. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Barbara? Yes. Carol?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
All right, 4 yes. Payroll warrant number 24. In the amount of $18,376.07. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. Dan?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Barbara? Yes. 4 yeses. All right. Now. I was like, where's the other pages for warrant 25? Okay, warrant number 25, and this is the bidder deposit return warrant. So these are folks who bid on the foreclosed property. And then when the process was returned back to the previous owner, these folks are getting their deposits back. So the total amount is $57,500. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Barbara? Yes. Carol?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. Newsletter postage warrant, $695.59. I'll make that motion.
Second.
And that was moved and seconded. So any discussion? Seeing none, Dan?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Barbara? Yes. 4 yeses. Well, just a side note, will you just make a notation of what the postage was and then what it cost us to have the newsletter printed? So I know the communications committee has been trying to figure out, so if that is about $1,500 a pop. I wanna check and see. And I know we were gonna follow up to see if Hammond's was still doing their donation for that. All right, AP warrant number 27. This one's minus $10. Is that?
Well, that is a check that was included to MMA for,
Main town,
some sort of
the
a-
main townsman magazine.
yeah, publication.
I
for-
get 2 or 3, I really don't need to pay for another one, yeah.
I remember hearing you say something about that,
So the checks had already been cut and I let Nick know that we didn't need to pay it, let MMA know to cancel. So the board will want to hold that check or refuse to pay it. And I've given you, on that first page down at the bottom there, I've given you the check number.
Yes.
Right.
How come we repair skid steers every single week, every year, at least every 2 weeks or whatever it is?
I think it's a, Corey probably answer that one, I don't know that. he knows.
I noticed it and I was like, I'm kind of over it.
$210, what's the repair this time?
200, the repair right now is a hole was worn in the fuel tank, and I think it was when. From years ago, when it was at the transfer station, or there was still a piece of wood or something in, a hole got in the fuel tank. So we had to replace the fuel tank. That was.
That was 2 warrants ago, and then the
Yeah,
last
and
one was
then-
another piece of this fuel tank.
He is, yeah, the
Issue.
parts weren't all there. And then as he was taking it apart, he found 2 hoses that had rubbed almost through, so there's no sense in taking the whole motor out of the skid steer and not replace those parts. So that $200 and something is hoses, fittings, grommets, I do believe.
Are we done for a while?
I hope so. It's still not together, so we'll see.
Also, we'll be getting one for later, put back together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my understanding is,
It's good.
which I just found out this weekend, like Corey said, they had to remove the whole motor to change the tank.
It was like a checked with Jordan Equipment and it was quoted as a 10-hour job
Oh, my God.
to remove the motor, remove the fuel tank, put a new fuel tank in it and put it back in. So he's hoping it's gonna be less than 10-hour job. With all the snow, it's been dragged out, so.
Okay.
Hopefully,
So I'm gonna make a motion on that 27, and then if you want to second that, Barbara. And then that one's open for the question, that's the big one.
Oh. 27,
Yeah,
did we already say that?
26.
no, I just had asked the question about the minus the 10, so we hadn't actually opened
Oh.
that one for
I'll second.
discussion.
Madam Chair, I don't have a vote on 26. I have a motion and a second.
Oh, I have this as 4-0 in the newsletter
Okay,
postage.
yes, okay, good thing.
Okay, and then warrant number, why don't we jump to warrant number 28? Sorry, just so that we do those 2, and then we'll go back to the one that we usually have the questions on. That's okay with everyone, so payroll warrant 28 in the amount of $18,093.26.
Second,
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, Barbara? Yes. Carol?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes,
All right, 4 yeses. Then we have BMV warrant number 29. In the amount of $13,064, $13,000.64. I'll make that motion.
second,
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Saying none. Dan?
yes,
Carol?
Yes.
Barbara?
yes,
All right, 4 yeses. Now we'll go back to AP warrant number 27.
I was confused, which one's $10, which one's $8?
Pete Dalton is a house, Ben Dalton's a.
That's what I thought, how come it's still so much more than $10?
That might have been when the electricity, that might have been when the heat, those electric.
I think it's just that, I think you're getting that,
Just hitting now.
well, I think you're getting the last part of it.
yeah, because it's definitely cold. Well, not cold, but it's definitely chilly in there today getting a roll of pan. So.
How close are we to dealing with rental people?
I was speaking with Corey about that today. Corey said that there was another room that needed to be painted.
Yeah, one last room to be painted. Couple pieces of trim to put on, and then a good thorough cleaning.
Of the whole place, and
Of the whole
the
place.
heating system needs to be
Just,
cleaned.
yeah, clean the boiler and change, put the
In
new.
the meantime, I thought we were supposed to hear something from the rental people on a new contract, and, because I don't wanna be dumping
Well,
around with that once we're ready to rent.
so that's the thing. So what I said to Lorna was when we were like, what needs to come forward? I said, we need the broker, who's our agent, our rental agent. We need that rental agreement in front of us. And we have got to get that negotiated because we cannot rent that building to another person. And whatever their lease is, none of it is covered by what's been going on. And so we've got to pull all those pieces back together. We've got to have the broker come in and meet with the board. We've got to look over the leases and we've got to say yay or nay to whatever's on them, and it's got to be consistent for the renters in both places. Because we promise things like you can have a garage bay, and then we're like, nope, you can't anymore, we want that. You can have lake access, nope, you can't have that anymore. So, and there's been verbal stuff between them, or, hey, you exceeded your electric bill by this crazy amount of money, you have to cut us a check. None of this is in writing and stuff that we're seeing. So we've got to see it, but I was like, we've got to line that up before we rent that building again.
Well, I have a copy of the lease and I've been trying to pull expenses because unfortunately they all go in under Dalton. And they go under 8 or 11 or 18, but they can't be pulled. So I've separated the last 5 years. So I've got most of it together. I want to get it in a better format because I didn't think we were going to discuss this tonight. But we do have the right to go in and inspect the property with 24 hours notice.
That's
24 hours.
24 hours.
So land.
And it says the landlord, which the landlord is
Us.
the landlord agent. And that's the question I have. So anyway, but we need to, I've got it here, so we can look at it afterwards, but
Okay.
it says in this agreement, another thing it says is that we are including a stove, refrigerator, microwave, and washer and dryer. Why would we include a microwave?
Probably because it was there.
Because it
Well, it was there, but if it breaks, do we want to buy another one? And most
Okay.
people have their own,
So I
so,
think this
I mean,
one-
there are some edits, I think.
10, I think, has a built-in one.
Yes, they do have a built-in one, because Dan's got a new one. That still needs to be put in, I do
But will
believe.
it
Either
fit in the same
microwave or
space?
fan. Stove fan, he was talking about has to still be.
Anyway. But I figured I was gonna ask that maybe we put this on next week's meeting.
And that's fine. I just, the only question I brought
Yeah.
up is I want to make sure that we don't get the property ready to rent, and then all of a sudden we're sitting here for another month. So I just want to
Absolutely.
make sure that we're working on both.
18 Dalton, just so you know, is the old
Yeah,
campground
and-
store.
One of,
Is that-
I don't know, it's nice discussion, but 18 Dalton is in under the Dalton expenses, and it really should be, because that's used by
The Center for All
the
Seasons.
kids, the Center for All Seasons. That should not be under the Dalton property management with rent. That should be over under I think, under an expense for the Center of All Season, their facilities expense. So there are 3 or 4 things I think we need to do. Again, it wasn't on the agenda for tonight.
Nobody's looked at that contract in years, so yes.
Yeah.
We do
And-
need to look at it.
And we need to look, so we should be able to say, what are our costs? And what are we charging for rent? And is it right?
What-
And to
what
do
is-
it, I've had to go,
What's 10 Dalton's rent per month?
10 is the 8's the house, 10's the garage, 18 is the sailing little,
We're only getting 800 or 900 a month,
we're
right?
getting $950 on the garage. And I think we're getting 1,500. The other piece, which I'll say this, then we can talk about it later. We get $855 for the garage. There is no paper trail anywhere because the tenant's paying $950. The rental agent is taking their 10% and sending the rest to us. But if you want to do a cost analysis, there's no paper trail of that. So I think there's some things that need to be done, which I now can, I'd like to get them in an order to be able to present them and say, we should be able to have this, have it in the book, have it all there, know what's there,
Yes,
what repairs were
yes.
done.
It sure sounds like we're paying the renter to live at $10.
No, I don't think we're paying them, but I don't know that we're charging correctly. And then, I don't know, he can have a child with him, does he have a young
Yeah, he's got
daughter?
a 16-year-old.
Oh, okay, good. And then, but all the other, when I was there last summer, there was a whole lot of superfluous stuff scattered all around that needs to be cleaned up. So again, I think that's another meeting's discussion, but
I've already made him clear the stairwell out because.
the stairwell has to be kept clear
Like
and,
this,
yeah,
and
and
both
it's,
sides with.
it is 24-hour notice. So whether we get the landlord to give him the quote, the rental agent say, here's your 24-hour notice, we're going in, or whether we do it, we can talk, but anyway. Yeah. So yes, that, which is a very long answer to your question.
We did have someone call the office today interested in 8 Dalton.
The house, house property, yeah, that is a, yeah, so.
Not ready yet, folks. We'll keep you.
I know he wanted to, like, I want to come and look at it. And I said, I'm sorry, it's not ready. We're still doing some things. The board has to review the lease contracts and all of that. I said, I'll keep your name and contact information.
One of the things that we may want to think about too, in this rental market, do we really need to pay $3,500 to a rental agent? And we just do it ourselves with a lease contract.
So when we did this, back when we purchased the properties, that was the agreement that we made with the townspeople, was that we were not gonna be in the rental business, that
We want to be
we
landlords.
were not gonna have the town office control, we were gonna have a broker that's what they did. Oversee that for us. But this process is clearly broken down since then.
I don't know, I mean, if that's not something,
Repairs and maintenance and,
we do them anyway,
Plowing, mowing.
we do them all,
yeah.
we're doing everything.
And what does the agent do? The agent just finds.
Collects the
tenant
check,
and
finds the
collects
tenant, collects the check.
That's all, yeah,
The
that's all
money
you
should come
recommend.
to the town first and then the town
Town
should
should
cut
pay.
a check to
Absolutely,
the.
but there's no
Agent.
paper trail,
Right.
so there needs, and I don't know, anyway, just think about it,
Back to the skid steer.
yeah. Anyway.
I got another skid steer on Jordan Equipment, $192.17.
I don't know. I don't know if
I
that's
saw
backs
that.
for back, it's there, or if there was backs for repairs, maybe.
Plow at this, I mean, for the.
Gasket,
transportation.
hose, bump pad, speed sensor.
Is that the $192?
Yeah, grommet.
That's
Okay, so that would be
the bulk, yeah.
the Bobcat.
So that's the one that we got fuel tank issue on.
Yes, that's the one. So that's
So-
all under the fuel tank issue. So
Okay, so how come it's not one person with an invoice?
Yeah, so.
Why
it's
is it
gonna
Bob?
come from,
Why is it Jordan Equipment and
it's gonna come from
Mechanical,
Belgrade Mechanic. Yes.
But it came from Jordan
and
Equipment,
then a second one.
That
was that the
parts?
$92.
Right, that's parts.
Yeah, that's part.
That's
oh,
It
sorry.
was. He was busy, the parts came in, he wasn't gonna make it back down there. He said, can you just go pick that up? I said, yep, I'm going to Augusta anyway. So I picked it up, made it put it under the town instead of Belgrade Mechanical.
Okay.
And then we just paid for it directly.
okay,
So Jordan, so that I know going forward, so I can explain it to the board maybe beforehand. Belgrade Mechanical will be the person who's actually doing work and labor and fixing.
Yeah,
And then Jordan is where you might order and pick up parts.
yes.
well, depending on which skid steer, which is what.
Right, the other skid steer.
Jordan Equipment's a, part, you know, Jordan. yeah.
They got
They
to
don't have,
do the mechanical work.
I mean, Bobcat.
If you haven't already got the bill, you're probably gonna get a bill for.
Like skid steer number one, skid
Yeah,
steer number
yeah.
two.
We had actually discussed that.
Yes.
We are going to number our equipment, so when
Yes.
you guys see something, you're gonna
Right.
say, oh, so-and-so number 15 we've done this,
Right.
okay, we're spending an awful lot of money on that. It's kind of rooted to the
Right.
ground.
I still want
Yeah.
purchase order system, so that, I'm sorry. I want to book, when you go in there and pick up those parts, you can write a little note for what they're for and why you're picking them up. Because if you're not here, they can be attached to that bill and it would go, Corey picked them up for the repair company.
Yeah,
Well, and it would be easy enough to set up a spreadsheet that has equipment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and expense under each one, so we can see very visually. This expense came from that equipment, and we know in
We
the
should
course
be
of
able
the
to pull a
year,
report like that out of Trio.
Because
Because
this
that,
is where we rent it.
but these don't have
from.
numbers on them, so we've got to
You know.
start identifying.
so you'll get another bill for
It's another
the
whole,
transfer station's plow.
Already got that one.
You already got that one? Okay, good
That
enough.
was on last warrant.
All right,
That's why I say,
And
it's
then
like
the
every
same
warrant.
repair.
sander repair will be coming.
No, that was on one of
No,
these
it's on
today.
this
so
one.
the
So
Oh, no, you
what-
didn't get it.
What's up? The new
I-
sander?
The new sander, yes, I have no sander right now.
So is it the module?
No, it is
Because
the starter.
I've had 2 modules go in sanders in the last couple of weeks.
So as far as I know, from what we've determined, it is the starter.
And who's
So-
the company that we purchased it from? Because you get with your plowing equipment, you have a 2-year warranty.
Yeah, I don't sure where that came from, the sander came from. I'm sure we can find out where it came
Yeah, because we want
And
to
when you
find out
purchase
where to pull the warranty, because we shouldn't be paying for anything when you've got a warranty that covers a certain number of months. There used to be 2 winter seasons and now it's 2 years.
is
So-
it more than 2 years old or not? Don't know.
from. I'm not sure. It's on my equipment list,
Yes,
so I would,
Yeah.
but I don't have it off the top of my head.
Nick should be able to tell you when it was bought.
yeah,
This is the second one right now.
okay.
Yeah, I was
Because it
gonna
was
say,
bought-
because
it
this
was
is the
bought
one
same
that
time I bought
Nikki,
my
that
truck.
Rick was in
Yeah,
part of the.
Yeah, because it got ordered the same time I ordered my truck.
Okay, so can we find a warranty for that, or we need to contact the company that we got it from and get it? fixed?
while we're on the bill stuff, you're gonna get a bill from
So what did
Big
we,
Tech Trailer for Boss plow parts, because the plow on Wesley's truck, I've got it wired on, so it won't fall off. So we're getting parts for that.
But that's up in age, so.
Yes, a 2016, I do believe, is getting tired. So,
well, it's not like it gets a ton of plow, it's not like it's out plowing off the roads, so the plow should be able to go for 5 or 6 years without it being a big issue. But being
I
wired
think
on.
it's gonna be a big issue. It's got some bushings and stuff, it's pretty loose, so.
So this 210 that we paid for the sander repair, we're not gonna get that money back because we authorized him to come and fix the sander,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So. And it's fixed now? No, you just said it's not working.
It's not working in whatever day the
So what did we?
I used it
do?
Sunday and it wouldn't work Monday morning, so. I used it Sunday, it wouldn't start Monday morning.
So did you call him back and say you fixed it and fixed?
No, this was a total different issue. This is a total different issue.
Well, if it's under warranty, they can have it back and we can fix it.
Yeah, I will check on that tomorrow.
So my first thought went to the module because I was like, well, that's a no
No.
issue.
The module has been really well.
All right, and 10 Dalton blower motor, is that the pit space one, you know,
Furnace.
on the furnace?
Yeah.
Transfer station stickers and punch cards.
Yeah.
So we backed that already?
Yeah.
I thought it was 2 years.
It is,
Because
yeah.
it has been 2 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, they run. What's going on?
And what is this Trio Go Live service?
I believe that is probably part of the new web that we purchased, but that has not been implemented yet. It's part of the annual fee.
Oh, yeah, I thought the other newsletter prints in 9/26 and then some other stuff.
Yeah, I've got a note to grab those figures.
All right, and then under Jason, I just had post roads, so tree work and post roads. Is that, like, do we pay separate for them to put the orange signs on? What's out?
So, yeah, hourly rate, whatever it costs, to drive around and do it.
No, just imagine.
And what is tree work all signs?
So
So
that'd be great.
there were two different ones. There was tree work all signs, and then there was tree work and post roads. So are there different signs that we're paying for?
Well, posted roads would be different than,
Yeah, you got your posted signs, and then probably replacing missing signs, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
who's the, is it,
It's under Jason.
it's not the Jason?
So I just had a flag because I was on all signs and then. Post signs, right there.
There's no, the end of Wings Mill Road, something needs to be addressed there around the start sign. Since the road got narrowed, when they did the last paving project. There's rocks on the, by the stop sign. The owner put in there years ago to protect the trees that are there. But the rocks are in the town right away, so when the plow truck comes through, they can't get the snow off. So right now, that much of the road is under snow. And now you gotta drive in a shoulder, which has got potholes that deep if there's two vehicles at the end of the road. And it's been a problem since the new pavement. I complained to this to Anthony and way back when they paved the place. I think the town, you know, you need to have, when it's melts, need to have Jason go out and look and assess that. Now, either you guys gonna have to hire somebody to come in and pave the 2.5, 3 feet that you shrunk for 100 feet or 200 feet, so you can get off the road and get on the road. You take 2 pickups or, you know, me and a big truck. We can't, both of us can't get on the road, you know, I can't get on and they can't get off. So,
So I'll add that to Jason's list.
So I have tree work and then all signs, and that's all he's provided, is just that written, so I'm guessing he, probably with snow. He's gone around and started maybe assessing or fixing signs that might be down,
Oh, I
right?
gotcha. Yeah.
And then we have finished tree work on Taylor Woods Road and then post town roads. So 2 separate things.
Okay.
Yeah, close to the road.
Well, I mean, we want a little better definition of all signs. What does that mean? Yeah, fixing signs, replacing signs.
Is it just, is it got a number of signs or is it just say signs?
All signs.
All signs.
All signs.
You may be doing inspection, or it could be German pressure on the signs, who knows?
Yeah, all it says is, all signs, tree work and all signs, 8 hours with a 110 for $513.28.
Maybe there were signs that were getting overgrown.
I don't know, you know how some get hit with plows and,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's just, we have no idea
Down
what
they
it is.
go, right?
I mean, they had a sign, I know we called him in for a stop sign on the point road, so. They got blown off, so. That was last week.
Okay.
Or are you going to Augusta tomorrow?
I don't know, do I gotta pick them last?
No. Well, last time I mentioned the dead wreath, you said, I'm going to Augusta, I'll pick that up.
Where is it?
It's on the welcome to Belgrade sign coming into town on 27.
Just across from Willow Run Kennel.
on that ball.
Yeah.
I drove down there the other day. I said,
Yeah, before you get the gaggies, that big white sign on the right.
Maybe I didn't go far enough. I was by the welcome center.
No, it's
Oh,
not-
No, wait, down.
Oh,
it's
okay.
right at the town, it's with the town line.
I'll go get it, because I went down to get it.
Coming through. No, it's on the welcome to Belgrade, the big white sign like we have everywhere else around town.
That sounded like sarcasm.
All right, anything else
I'll go
on
get
warrant
that.
number 27?
They want to save their bow for next year, so it's.
Save that vote.
Did you get the one on the North Belgrade, 8 and 11 intersection?
No, Henry didn't melt. That should be melted off enough. I probably can get it. I drive by it 4 times a day, so.
All right,
I'll
so
grab
any
that.
other discussion on warrant number 27? All right, seeing none, Dan?
No, don't we have to make the motion?
Make
to
a
not pay
motion, so,
Oh, did they make the motion?
so I move that we do not pay check number 23677 on AP warrant number 27.
Which reduces the total
Second that. And then the total becomes,
69, 6.
Yeah, the total becomes, 69,260.15.
that's your motion, I'll
Thanks
second.
for
Yeah.
updating, Stan. Every
I
$10.
took mine under the bin today and threw it on the counter out there, figuring, somebody else wants it, they can have it, I couldn't alone.
All right. So the amount is amended
Yeah,
and seconded. All those in favor, Dan,
Yes,
Carol,
yes,
Barbara?
Yes,
All right, 4 yeses. All right, we have town managers report.
So you already know I've been keeping you in the loop, when Fire Chief Dan, updates me, with regard to dispatch services, but we definitely need to notify the state before July 1. Who will provide our PSAP services, and as you know, Somerset County is ending all of their contracts June 30. Waterville, I did see an article in the paper, they are looking to move forward with becoming a PSAP.
the state of Maine has no desire to take us on.
Nobody does. No.
I had a long conversation with the commissioner the other day. They're planning on making sure that Waterville can get authorized to add another PSAP, which is gonna take off a lot of the town managers like, oh, they actually doesn't want that to happen.
and they actually, Waterville would be able to do it in time, because wasn't that the question?
They've already got the communications there, because the problem is they're just not authorized to do it.
I see.
oh,
Just got to have a little bit of electronics changed over and,
They gotta have some more help.
right,
I was just gonna say, wasn't there also the issue of not having enough
Yes.
personnel?
see, the state doesn't either. That's the state says we can't take it on either.
And the fact they can tell you in March, by the way, in a couple of months, you're on your own, folks.
Yeah,
Oh, you know where Augusta's PSAP is? Oh,
Yeah, that's where,
yes.
and there's no more room up to Holton for us.
no, because Waterville Column has checked and has checked with every PSAP and they all said no.
Yeah.
The Public Works Ad Hoc Committee has met. It actually went surprisingly very well. Everybody was really great. Signed up for subcommittees and they're out collecting their information. We meet again March 16. LD 422, this is a bill introduced by Dan. It effectively allows municipalities the option to meet its notice obligations via posting a public notice to the town website, Facebook, or other method more relevant to our residents. I know when we put the foreclosure notice in one newspaper for 3 days, that was just under $600. And that was not a display ad, that was just in the column. Yeah, crazy. So both Mary and I submitted written testimony
I
in
was
support.
on, I have no idea how it's.
Okay. Communications Committee held a candidate forum, March 1. We had 2 select person candidates here. One in, one via Zoom. I thought it went super well. Regina did a great job. And of course, elections will be held next week. The RSU 18 budget, I sent that information out to you. They are looking at a 2.93% increase for fiscal year 24. That equates to just over 372,000 for us. A 5.5%, 57% increase. If that gets passed in June, the new contribution amount for us will be just over 7 million. We did have a resident reach out with regard to starting up a Belgrade flower group, volunteer group who would go around, plant and care for flowers around town, like a beautification.
So I have that in my side note to chat with you about, because Judy Hollowell does that.
Oh,
That's who does the North Belgrade flowers. That's who Rhonda Adlam used to do the ones under the old Belgrade sign. So if Jill wants to pull something like that together,
Put her in touch with them.
absolutely. And I think Judy would be okay with somebody taking some stuff off of it.
Okay.
There used to be a flower club right there.
We did used to have a flower club in town, and then they all kind of aged out.
Yeah, because I got a scholarship to go to college.
Nice. MMA Risk Management will be here Thursday, so they will start here at the town office, meet with me, do a tour. And then move on to meeting with Corey for facilities, and then Ken at the transfer station. They're doing a walkthrough, a hazard survey. And then they will also be reviewing policies, programs, and our training documents. The water system, Dwight Downey of Maine DOT is still awaiting confirmation from the board to forward with the water supply design. They still don't have anything more concrete than what they sent.
So
Like,
yes,
way
so
in the
what
first.
confirmation are they waiting for? Do they want
Just-
something in writing from us? that
Well,
says
I think
yes,
a re-
that's stuff that we,
Just to respond to his email, I think.
yeah, because we did it.
No, I only had one person respond.
Was it me who was like, we were already
No.
doing this?
No, I think Barbara is the only one who responded.
Yeah, because I didn't understand why we had to respond
So-
again, because he was like, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this out, and as long as a super majority agrees. So that had already gone out, that if the super majority agreed, then they could move on with the design,
I
and we
think-
were like, yes.
Do we remember how many they had respond, 4 or 5? I think it was 4 or 5. So I think what he needs is maybe reassurance by responding to the email, yes, go ahead. Given the preliminary feedback from the impacted residents.
Right, and implies that they're signing on, so.
Yeah, I mean,
He's still waiting.
if they're comfortable with the response they got, because they're the ones that had to decide if they're going forward,
Mm.
so.
So I can respond to him and say, the board discussed this last night at their regularly scheduled meeting, and they're good to go.
They said, go ahead, because
Right.
this was the plan that you laid out.
I know. So let me make a note and I will email, I'll just say email Dwight Water. So we'll get that to you.
Because like, that's what they want, they want it in writing?
That's, in a sense, email, yeah,
Yeah. okay.
approval. Training, Mary and I are taking GA training March 14th, so that's next week. And then Nick and I are gonna do some training through MMA for budgeting, and that's the end of April. Just a reminder, elections and town meeting are coming up next Friday and Saturday. And then to keep us on task on the radar, we have ARPA, the water trustee appointments, the Dalton rental agreements, comprehensive plan committee recommendations, LD 2003, I believe the planning board's gonna take that up at their next meeting, so that would be next week. The first responders memorial landscaping, the fire department land search letter, and annual appointments after town meeting.
Okay.
Looks like he'll be busy.
I know, I was like, she's like, and then this and this, I go, and then add this to the list, and then this to the list, and then. where with meetings?
But if I write them down, it keeps us all on the same page and it's a
Yeah, I
reminder,
think that's
right?
good to have. That's good to have at the end. of it.
It's a reminder, so we
Yeah.
can't let it,
It's like our.
Fall by the
it's our little
wayside.
whiteboard that
yeah,
keeps moving
seriously,
forward.
right?
Yeah.
The fire department letter, where are we at on that? Because I think.
I think Carol, you were
kind
gonna
of
decide.
I didn't do it. When's the next meeting? I was gonna
The
take it back to
22nd.
that meeting, the March 22nd on a Wednesday night.
Yes,
I'm going out of town that morning unless I stay that
And
night.
did we
so.
need to do anything with this today, the cost recovery contract?
That if you. You could sign it, but it says after a year, it automatically goes to a 3-year contract. I highlighted. Yeah,
Goes to a 3-year contract.
but if you're going to get authority from our residents, legislative body to enter into multi-year contracts, you would have that approval before it would go to 3 years.
Right. All right.
Yeah, Dan sent that over, so I'm assuming that it does need to be voted upon and signed, at least for 1 year.
Does it need to be done? Well, it is this first day of January.
Right.
Don't like what they charge.
$25 processing fee or 20% per process paid claim, and the remaining 80% being paid to the client. Essentially, they keep 20%.
Right, you have $100,000 claim, they get pretty good payday.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do get a big thing.
but unfortunately, there's a lot of claims they go for, it we don't get.
Yeah,
Because insurance companies are getting smart with us and they're just, you know, because we don't fight it in court, so. Insurance companies are getting smart to it and it's like, oh, we don't pay for that.
I'm comfortable. So we each have a copy. So would Dan sign this or do we sign? Because it just has the signature line for
But-
town of Belgrade.
So I would have one of you.
I don't think the fire chief can enter into a
No,
contract.
I would have one of you sign it. If you discuss it, approve it, make a motion to approve and designate Melanie as chair to sign.
and then through.
I just,
You
I
all fine with
flagged the multi-year. too.
Essentially, it's multi-year and they're gonna keep 20%. And if we find somebody to do it cheaper in the next year, we don't have to extend this one for 3.
I think this is the one that most departments are using, I think that's what it is. I don't know what there is out there for companies.
Either party may terminate without cause at any time by giving the other party written notice. Sounds like to me, we can sign it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine with me, I just don't like the fact that they.
So
It's a
much.
big payday.
Yeah.
I would think it should be capped. but-
So I make a motion that we enter into the cost recovery agreement and delegate Melanie as chairperson of the select board to sign.
So,
Move Dan second. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Dan,
yes,
Carol,
Yes,
Barbara?
Yes.
All right, 4 yeses. Do you have the original over there?
So
In the-
is it in the
the
gray
official
folder?
folder that? Do you
The gray
right
folder?
there, this is in between Carol and Dan.
All I have is I marked mine as a copy as well, because it was sent in an
and
email.
Rick is saying it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, me too, I need something to eat.
I'm going with something.
I know, and then I'm like, what do I eat it?
If you wanted to sign the last page, I can print another copy from email
Oh. okay.
and staple it with that back page so that it has no highlight or copy
Copy
or
on it.
anything like that on it.
I'm
If you
okay
wanna
with
just
that.
do that back page, that
Yeah.
will work. I'll scan it and keep a copy for us and then send that over to them.
Do you want to
We can
send
get-
just that back this way and I'll sign it?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
All right, and then does anybody have anything
I
else?
have one more thing, this letter that,
Oh,
to
Oh, yes.
Carl Gartley that we said that we would send. And then it took a week for us to get the draft and, in the meantime, Carl sent an email to Lorna saying that he wanted to come and visit if we wanted him to come. So it seemed to me that that made the letter not necessary if he's offering to come. So I did something that I thought Lorna could send out requesting the breakdown of the additional local funds, because that really was the key, the additional local funds. And the numbers of Belgrade students. That was what we had talked about as far as,
right,
the information that we want from
yeah. Yeah.
Gartley. So,
The only thing I would say, we'd like to report the number of Belgrade students in each school and grade. I'd like a number of, a breakout of all the students in each grade. So that you know what how China's breaking theirs out, just
Yeah, how many each.
how
town
many,
is
so
in
it's not
the
just Belgrade, but
RSU has
it's
kids.
a grid that has the student population by grade, by town, by grade. And,
Yeah,
I know that, Sarah was looking to make sure that we could get into what these funds are, so I think we need to request that. Were we gonna send this in conjunction with Rome?
I believe so.
but I think Rome has already scheduled a meeting with him. I mean, that's why I think that to send this letter, making a big deal about, having a meeting with him, when he's already offered to have a meeting. Let's just keep it simple.
You're supposed to offer to have a meeting though, because he knows some.
Mhm.
Last year, exactly what he said was that he didn't need to come because the town's moved in if he was there. So he said, I talked to your town manager and he said that you guys don't care. And I was like, that's not what happened. And, right, so I was like, well, no, we would actually like for you to come to the meeting.
Right.
So
He did come.
he did come, and did he provide an answer to any of the questions we made?
We had questions for him and he did not.
No.
Right,
Provide
so if we
feedback.
wanna make sure that he addresses, Lorna can send this in writing to say, yes, we want the meeting. And yes, this is the information that we're specifically interested in, please make sure that we have that. And we all know that that's what was requested, so we can lock him in the room until, until we get the
Right.
answers. I don't know.
I mean, I think last year it's like, oh, I can get that information for you, but. And I think I asked about how many students and how the demographics, and it's never come to us. I mean, I'm sure one of the reasons it hasn't come to us is because it's. It favors us. I mean, it just paints the picture more that we're paying a large amount here.
Belgrade and Rome.
And now that I've understood these extra allocated funds, I would like to see where that is, because
I mean, 'cause
that's the only piece we have actionable.
at this point, we'd be cheaper for what we have for students in this town, we'd be cheaper to pay tuition than we would.
So, and I've talked to a couple people about that, because right now, our cost per student is $15. Say it's $15 per student. China contracts. And for the high school or whatever, so any students who come in from outside, they pay $11 per student, because they contract with the town,
Right,
with the RSU. So we essentially fund an additional $4 per student from the other communities.
we pay a lot more for Oakland.
Right.
Oakland pays. Like,
But so when there was the, do we secede from the RSU? And I was like, well, maybe we pull out of the RSU. And we offer to send our students back at the price per student that other schools are getting the same deal on.
I mean, that's a big picture piece, but, the town is gonna vote on the school budget. And the one piece that we can affect is the that ALF.
ALF, additional local.
And
funds.
maybe Belgrade says, we're not gonna sign that. We're not gonna approve the school budget until you make that ALF zero, no increase. I mean, I'm really sort of tired, but that's the only leverage we have now, unless the rules get changed, right?
Well, the biggest thing is it takes all if they count all the town's votes.
Yeah, because like I say, even if Baldwin votes it down, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter, that's, I mean, we're stuck. The only way we're gonna get out of this is if they keep going up and our pupils keep going down. Then we're at a point where we need to do tuition like other towns, I mean, it's happening all over the state, towns are pulling out of RSUs and paying tuition, they just. You know, pay tuition to either to RSU 18, to Augusta, to Veronica, or to Mount Blue.
Kent Hill, St.
Kent Hill.
Michael's.
I think Windsor's like that. They have their own grammar school, but high school is all tuition. Because when I grew up in Windsor, I could go to Gardner, Pauldale, Coney, or Erskine. Pick whichever one I wanted to go to, the town would pay for it.
And just like China, right, and we're paying that.
Some of the China kids go there.
Go to Erskine, and RSU 18, we, as a town of Belgrade taxpayers, are paying them to go to Erskine Academy. They can go to Erskine, they can go to Coney, they can go to Gardner, or they can go to Messalonski.
I mean, I think the only way this is gonna sort of come to get attention is if Belgrade stomps their feet and possibly wrong and says no. And the only thing we can stomp our feet on is that ALF. If nothing else, we begin to raise the issue and maybe some of the other towns will say, oh, gee. We don't want them to go. I mean, because right now we just sort of lay down and take it, like, okay, well, can't do anything.
No, I think we actually voted the budget down once or twice, a few years ago, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we.
And it didn't matter.
Well, and actually, the whole RSU 18 system, people, voters, voted no for the budget, and then they did this town meeting style of vote at the high school. You couldn't get in to vote. There was so many people. You couldn't get in to vote, and of course, it seemed like it was the town that was paying the least amount was able to fit in the building. You must remember that.
I do.
We couldn't get, nobody could get in to vote.
Well, and the towns that are paying the least, they don't want to change the formula because then they'll have to pay more.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Well, and what
Their
we
voters
used
don't
to
wanna-
get was an actual school budget. So that when he came, and when you were actually part of the budget process, we could say, well, how come administration went up 35%? And now we have 2 principals in one school, and do you need 2 assistants for the superintendent? And so we were fleshing it out that way. We don't get any of that anymore because they didn't like the towns actually fleshing those pieces out. And, yeah,
It's like the buses. That was Ricky's pet peeve, and I'll still, again, I don't think we ever, Ricky asked and asked and asked. I want, have you guys priced this out? We're first student, and, have you guys priced this out to see if it's cheaper to privatize than it is to have our own?
Right.
I mean, it must be because I'm seeing other RSUs privatizing them bus services.
yeah, so I think this is nice. I don't want us to, Sarah's was very detailed.
and it included a
But
lot
I
of
also-
assessment information and so forth that it's
Yeah,
not part of the budget process. So,
right.
if we want that information, let's get that later.
And what I would like to see is if he has some of the answers from the questions that we asked last year. If he could bring those, that would be great, because I still would like to know where we're at with asbestos removal in the buildings. Because we spent a shit ton of money on a beautiful new athletic complex. And we cut the chorus program, gutted it, so anyone who wasn't doing athletics was.
Got new tennis courts too.
Right, and new tennis courts,
All
and
kinds
this
of
was gonna generate all kinds of income, and it was gonna affect our budget in a better way, cause we were gonna have all this money coming in, and our budget goes up and up and up. We've had no verification that the asbestos is completely removed, and that any of the upkeep that was supposed to be done is done. So I don't love continuing to pay for it, I don't want dumb kids, so yes, I'm gonna keep paying for the school. but, because they're gonna be running this when we're gone. But at the same time, there's gotta be a balance, and we've gotta be able to have the answers to the questions. That's $7 million.
You know, I'll just hang on
We-
because the China schools are in need. So it's gonna be a lot more in the next about 3 years.
That's a significant.
So do you wanna know if we're comfortable with her sending this out?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just feel like we need to move on
We
this.
need to do
told
something.
Sarah, we told Sarah we would send the letter.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think if we keep it simple, since he's already offered to come, let's just say, you know,
Do
okay.
you
we're
want
gonna
me
keep-
to respond via email?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, that's how
And
we respond.
CC all of them?
Yep,
Yeah.
and CC Sarah too. so
Yeah.
that-
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and Sharon.
And just,
Yeah, and Sharon,
change number 2 to say the number, a report of the student population breakdown by school and town,
by grade,
by grade.
The school, town,
by
and grade.
grade, and by town.
They've got the information.
Yeah, they have it, they have it all.
They have it.
Of course they do. That's
But-
their job.
I mean,
Yeah,
you're,
once
you're
you
gonna
see it.
hold your numbers close unless someone makes you show them. It's not to his advantage for us to get all wound up over this.
The last real quick thing I'd like to ask. Is so we're talking about spirit, from now on, spirit and miracle, so with all this. That's what we went through on the prices on this and that. I'd like to start with the main house. If you look at that list of
Right,
all the ones, most towns are giving out 2 or 3 a year. We're consistently giving out anywhere from. 3, 5, 8, 10.
I think the only time we did the big ones were the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah.
list has quite a few that we've done a lot more than other towns. If you look at the amount we've given out,
yeah,
paid other towns, and we've given out multiple to the same person.
right,
Which is why the 2 that I was bringing back, I didn't bring back because of that.
Yeah, so I think we just need to make sure that we look at that. I'd rather give 2 or 3 people a nice thing every year. Rather than just hand out certificates to people.
well, and, you know, I think we could put a plaque on the wall and put a little brass plaque on each year with people's names on it. So there's something there,
That's fine too, but
that-
I'd like to make it more special.
right,
You get to the point where it's not as special when you have all of these awards. going.
yeah,
We have, I showed them to Corey this afternoon. I'm not sure where Mary found them, but there were some boxes of pictures and frames in the storage room, and she pulled some of those out. They look very similar to what you have, Melanie.
Mhm.
It's real wood. It has the mat, it has glass, they're heavy.
Yeah,
Double cut.
So
were these, did you do extras?
I don't.
I think you
We
did.
may have had a
actually.
bunch of,
So we have enough to do the award winners this year, so there will be no cost. And so that really works out perfectly because we're on such
I
a.
think I, I
It was
think
so
we'll
long
do
ago.
for that. That-
So
You
those will work,
cut
I think,
everything
really
we had,
well, they're
just-
tight lines.
Or you cut, I didn't do them, I don't. Straight.
And what about, since Jack, how many times has Jack Sutton won? 3? I
yeah.
mean, would we want to consider doing some separate award?
I
for
was
him?
just gonna say,
Like a
I
lifetime
really like the idea of a lifetime citizenship award.
Why don't we look at that for next year? Only that,
Well, we could do it for Jack this year. I mean, we can rescind our vote.
Well, and there's a second one that I would also like for us to, if we do that, I would like to, what's that? Jack and also Bill also.
Mm.
Say Bill,
How many towns
last
do
night,
you
just
I
got
guess
some-
I gotta say, Matt Pouliot just gave,
Bill,
Matt said he forgot to tell me that he had got those together.
oh, really?
He calls me up, I said, I'm on state.
Yeah, because it was, say Bill got one for 70 years.
I was just gonna say,
Lisa.
how many towns do you know that have someone who's been a firefighter in that?
Yeah, well,
community?
you gotta, you don't want the state.
State ones, yeah.
Yeah, so what I think it'd be nice if the town, and I liked, you know, how yours was
Yeah.
done on the wooden frame, it's something that can be passed down through their family that. Those would be
well,
the
I
two
think there
first
should be
people.
something permanent in here, like a cane. Because, you know, you'll give someone the award and some people will know what to do with it. And then another generation will
You see
be
what we
cleaning
have
out the
in the past.
house and then you decide what to do with it. I'm there. But if there's something here, we have Belgrade Citizenship Award or something, whatever we call it, and we can put their names on it. We don't have to do it right at town meeting. I'm just saying, so we think about it and we really recognize really significant contributions.
You see
And you
what we
can put
did
a
at
brass
the fire-
plaque on every time.
That's what we have at the fire station.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
have junior, junior person year, rescue person year, firefighter.
yeah.
It's just, a little plaque and
And here, if you have something here, it will be here.
It's here. It's
For
not
a really
something-
super long time. It's not gonna be us standing in a flea market looking at photos and plaques on a shelf that the next generation or the next generation clean out, and that's where they end up, right?
Well, I mean, I've got this huge
That's so
box of all
sad
my
to me.
all states, and then, I mean, I worked hard, what do I do with these things now? It's like, I'm not gonna plaque on my wall with them,
Okay, so
anyway.
So to go back to Jack, who would be getting his fourth Spirit of America award. Do we want to surprise him with something different?
I was wondering, the lifetime citizenship.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be nice. 'Cause I don't have that report with me, but he received it, I'm pretty sure 3 times.
I think he's 3, yeah.
Right.
Well, there are a couple
of other people that are on there.
All two or 3 times anyway.
Yeah,
Becky
so I think we should look at the list to say, maybe that's not the only criteria, is how many times they get Spirit of America, but what else do they do? Are they still serving on board? I mean, that we really look
Yeah,
comprehensively at.
and that was, I prefer to see it be more special.
Yeah,
Getting to the point where we're handing them out, and after a while, when everybody's getting it, it's not special.
Yeah,
right, I agree.
so then we come back to
I think that
Jack.
the results are a little bit skewed though, because when we see the ones where they were big ones, I don't believe every one of those people got an award. It was, all of these folks were named on an award that was kept at their location. So when we look at all those names, that was food pantry, that was the comprehensive plan. But I don't recall us standing there at town meeting doing 23. It was these folks from the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, but I think,
I don't think.
I have to
we
go
did
back and
them
look, I think
individually.
you may have announced them all at once, but I'm sure you gave each of them a certificate. Because what would you do with one certificate?
Yeah,
Well, I think, yeah.
No, transfer station, I'm saying next transfer station.
Right.
There's only one certificate for that.
But what's it say on it? Does it have everybody's name listed on it?
No, I think it just says the transfer station.
it was given to the transfer station.
Committee, was for the committee,
Yeah,
the transfer station committee.
But the
So
ones
it's
that
just
we
like
have
when you
here,
get your
this is what
certificate, it
have the
doesn't
names
say
on
only what you
this list.
nominated for, you just have. this
yeah,
here.
we should look at that list.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, this list we've got doesn't say
What?
transfer station committee, I mean,
Right.
it lists out every single person that's gotten it.
Right.
Right,
Now, in the beginning of the list, there were a couple for Belgrade Fire and Rescue
Right,
and
But
transfer
committees,
station.
so I'm
with their
saying,
names.
the ones that are listed out by name, I'm sure that each one of them got a certificate.
oh, I'm sure they did.
I
Yeah,
mean, it wouldn't make sense
we'll do it any other
to
way,
have it, for the Spirit of America to have it recorded that way,
right,
if it wasn't.
Well, I just hope that when we start working on the comprehensive plan, we have as many people 10 years later. 10 years ago, I'd be happy to recognize them all. Okay, so Jack, do we want to change Jack's?
well, is there anyone else that's a double this time?
Well, there's nobody in the
So I didn't
quad.
end up doing Jack or Jay because everybody's.
Right.
We've got a lot of them, blah, blah, everybody,
Okay,
and they
so-
both had several. Although I do feel bad because Jay reached out to me because he was not listed as the moderator in the annual report, and he was devastated by that. He said after 21 years, he felt like we were like, see you later. And I hadn't realized we were changing that in the annual report. So it should be reflective of what was last year, so we noted this person as the moderator, and I don't know how else to handle it, I just apologized.
So you're saying that somewhere in the book,
Yeah.
last year's moderator should have been.
Yeah, so the
Recognized.
moderator, because this is the year ending December 31,
Right.
2022.
So even though we
So-
didn't have a town meeting.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
Still
why
a
He was still our moderator,
Yeah,
and there was the brouhaha with,
yeah, that was the year.
and so, and I was like, and honestly, I mean, I just got mine today, so I hadn't gone through all of the parts to it.
Yeah,
But so then I feel doubly bad that I didn't follow up with anything else because I wasn't thinking that he was gonna be, I thought he would moderate for us this year. I was hopeful. So we just want to be mindful of that moving forward. The
Right.
Annual report is what ended. And then,
But I don't know, where would we have done just like a little thank you to the moderator, or? I don't
no,
understand how.
I
it
think
would have
he
been
went
in.
through it thinking his name would be there as moderator because it was the year ending and then it was not.
Yeah, isn't there like a moderator's report or something usually on
Okay,
the,
so what we have is town meeting moderator is Paul Mills and town meeting moderator is Deputy Howard Hollinger and Deputy Christian Bishop. So this should have been under the administration. This should have been who was our town meeting moderator. for
Because
2022.
the town, because the town administrative staff, this is current.
Right. Yeah,
Let's see.
so I was like, so I thought, well, I will mention it, we can't go back and change it now. But I guess I hadn't even thought how that would come across, and I hadn't really even kind of put all those pieces together, but it really is the year ending. So. That's a wonky one.
Yeah.
But
are we ready?
Okay, so you're saying that you didn't put, I thought we voted on Jack.
no,
So-
we voted on Maureen Milliken and the minutes. Yeah. Yeah,
I
only
thought
have-
Jack
I think I
Sutton,
only
Jack
have
Sutton was
four.
here.
Okay, so who are the four
We
names?
voted to give Jack the
I'd
Spirit
have
American
to
report.
go back and look.
Okay,
Maureen Milliken is the thing.
Was it the last meeting?
so are any of them duplicates? If they're duplicates, we should not do it, if that's the
So
thing.
what I did was I was going to submit those last two names before March 1st, but then the discussions we were having in email, I was like, well, I won't because the board's been pretty clear about not wanting so many duplicates. So
Right.
I didn't do those two.
Okay, but of the four we have, are any of the four we have duplicates?
Probably Mary Vogel, I think is one who's a duplicate.
Mary and Jeff, right?
Yeah, so-
Oh, Jeff, not one. Because
I thought it
Mary,
was
Mary
Michael
got one
Hino. It was
last
Michael
year.
Mary got
Hino
one
you didn't
last year.
submit because
Yeah.
you didn't
I
have,
know
you
because.
didn't
we were
have
supposed to-
his
What
information.
happens, the year, following year, the state does the names and then we end up with the certificates.
I mean,
It was Bruce, Maureen, and
so we have Maureen and Katie Dameron, and you have Mary, and who's the other?
Mike Kane.
Mike Kano. I think we should, if we're not gonna do duplicate, has Mike gotten it before? I don't think so.
I don't have that report here.
Because
I
Mary
don't
got one
believe
last
mine
year.
is on there.
No, I don't think so either. I'd have to go back and look here.
And what are our thoughts? Can we pull together a lifetime citizenship award for Jack for town meeting? And for Bill Pulsifer?
For next week. I know, if you do something nice for Yankee, you need 2 weeks.
I think you can get them at Augusta quicker than that, at the Augusta's place. I've gotten wooden plaques down
Do a
there.
wooden plaque.
saying sometimes Yankee will do a rush, Dan send, do rush for 500.
I guess we need to figure out what we want to say on it, and if, I mean, I hate to do it rushed and have it
Right.
not right, that's,
Right.
so. So maybe we think about it.
Now, we have the glass thing that was done for me and a handful of other folks. Forget what the award was for, but
That was nice, actually.
that was very nice and weighted. Actually, I think it was for select board.
Yeah.
Yep, that was when I retired from select board that time. I don't think it was terribly expensive, but it looks really nice up. It's kind of teardrop shaped. Maybe something like that, if they're just etching glass, I wonder if we could have something like that done. a little quicker, and then it just.
All right,
takes more
so,
space.
so again, who is it that we got this year from the Spirit of America?
Mary.
Katie
Dan,
Dan.
Mike Hano, and Bruce Galush.
What about, oh, you did put Maureen in,
I did put Maureen.
so then we'll get Maureen as well.
Oh, Maureen too, yes.
So that's 5.
I only have 4.
Who do you have?
I think I only have 4. I have 3, I believe I only have 3 from Mellon and 1 from Mary.
Maureen, Bruce, and.
Which was Katie Dameron.
And then Katie Dan, we're
Good
gonna
night.
have 4.
Right, not 5, yeah. I have 3 from you and I have 1 from
Okay,
Mary.
so it's Bruce, Maureen,
Katie
And Mike.
and
and
Mike.
Mike. So Jack was none of those. Oh,
That's what I'd like to do, I'd like to
Okay.
have some discussion.
So the only real question is, are we going to put another one in for Mary? Because she's the only duplicate. Or do we say our new policies, we're not gonna do
I
duplicates?
think we already approved them, those ones moving forward.
And
It would be in the minutes. I can pull it.
She has hers from the last time up on the wall, but in her, at her desk.
Hmm.
When I get home, I'll try to take a picture of that one, maybe just put a large mouse in. And we can chat amongst ourselves and email, but if we do something like that, what it could look like on there. We could do something.
This biggest thing, if you're gonna do something, Bill. Somebody needs to talk to his wife. So we can get him,
Oh, I will drive that man down there.
oh, we had him at the meeting last night, so. Usually Bill will get him and usually what we did is we just took out a. Desk chair and. Got him in it and we just carried him in.
We used to, Katie Damon, I remember one of the, no, Katie, something. Remember she was on so long, they had a little chair at the end.
It's like Kate Dameron, somebody. I try to get her, make sure she's there, make sure Mark and, Mark knows something's coming, so he'll get her.
All right, so take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And seconded. 4 minutes to 10. All those in favor? Cameron,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
all right, 4 yeses. And we're in agreement, we'll chit chat by email, and if I can pull something magic out of my honey. Put those two.
Okay, you think we get, most of the, we could get them.
Yeah,
Check, I'll look on the bottom, and see if there's something that says, and I've got the box out. So. So from the trends in the basement.